Load it up. What's up, guys? All right, we're here. We're live. We're back. We got a new Poker Live podcast today, guys. Just before we get started, I want to let people know that are following that prop bet with Donger Kim and TC from the UB. If you're watching this like 7 months from now, you're not going to know what I'm talking about right now. There's a big prop bet starting tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a preview podcast for that with the two guys that are participating in that. And also this week, we got the Jungle Man podcast and David Skolansky podcast coming up. Today, we have on somebody I've been looking forward to have on for a little bit of time now. His journey in poker has been a fun journey. He started off in our lives as an 18-year-old kid with braces facing off against Jamie Gold at the Poker Stars Caribbean Adventure. He then transgressed into further on in life with his tournament success at the high stakes, with his legendary stare down and buying Lamborghinis. Mike McDonald, a.k.a. Timex. What's up, buddy?
Hey, not too much. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for coming on, man. What are you up to these days?
Not a whole lot right now. I just got back from Australia. January was a pretty busy month between PCA and Aussie Millions, which for me are probably two of the top three most exciting trips of the year. And then now just got a little bit of downtime. I'm not really doing any big tournaments for another month and a half or so. It's just hanging out back in Waterloo.
So you did that trip. You went from the Poker Stars Caribbean Adventure to the Aussie Millions straight from there, right?
No, I came home for about 5 or 6 days or so. Like my girlfriend, she's afraid of flying, which is probably not ideal for a tournament professional who travels around all these things. But she decided, she's gonna like take some drugs, try flying to PCA, and then so she wanted, me to fly with her for flying home, so I couldn't go, straight from one to the other. So we flew down to PCA, came back for about 5 days, and then went down to Australia.
So wait, she flew to Australia with you as well?
No, no, no. She'd probably rather kill herself than fly to Australia. She just, she did PCA, and that was 3 hours on a plane was about as much as she could handle.
Okay, I was gonna say I thought you said she's scared of flying, and she went to PCA, and she went to that flight to Australia is one of the that was not a fun flight. I don't want to ever fly there again because that's not very good. Too long.
It's definitely like one of the worst flights there are. I mean, for me, when I went as 19, and I did the PCA to Australia route where it's 31 hours travel time, which is about as far as anything could take, and I ended up getting a 24-hour delay thrown in there, so it was 55 hours of travel time, and I feel like after that, I can handle just about anything. Going 24 hours doesn't feel so bad.
Did you take any sleeping pills or anything like that?
I've actually never taken a sleeping pill in my life. I've heard, bad stories about people getting addicted to them and not sleeping well after. So I just don't really, fuck around with that stuff. I don't really do any drugs or anything. I'm probably one of the few poker players who doesn't. But that's not for me.
Guys, we got a special occasion here. We got a guest. We got a drug-free guest on today, guys. I know it's a rare occurrence we get on the Poker Live podcast, but we got an official drug-free guest, man. It's real good. It's very inspiring out there for the younger kids that are going to be able to hear it from a drug-free guest. I appreciate it coming on, man.
No problem.
Guys, we're live streaming this as always. Any questions, comments? It looks like we got a lot of people here so far. We got a lot of people commenting about the stare down. We're going to have a stare off, me versus you. I'm not sure how this is going to work over webcam, but I want to feel like what these guys feel when you give them that look when you're at the poker table. What's up with this? Okay, so stare down. Where did this come from? Why did you start doing the stare down? Give us the GTO breakdown of the stare down.
Okay, yeah, I guess the GTO breakdown of the stare down, it essentially boiled down to, I always felt like I was picking up more in hands I wasn't involved in than in hands I was involved in. Like, I just felt like I'd watch hands going on at the table and just be like, oh, it's so fucking obvious this guy's bluffing. And then when I'm actually in the hand, because I'm always like staring at the table, trying to be balanced, trying to be, GTO with my mannerisms and stuff, I just would never see anything. So the one day I just decided, hey, the next time I play a tournament I don't really give a fuck about, I'm just going to, try to see every single thing that goes on at the table, see how it works. And I played some like €1,000 tournament in Prague, and during the course of the tournament, felt like I was like, I mean, this is an exaggeration, but felt like I was just like compared to normal, like super using river decisions. Like I felt as if it was just so much more comfortable, the like just how people would react to like seeing a turn card fall, just every little thing, especially because the competition was not exactly very tough in that tournament. I just felt like I was just realizing, noticing a lot more, and then I'm just like, all right, next time I play a more major tournament, I'm going to do this as well. And it just seemed like each time I was playing, I was, picking up more and more, and just, guessing right more effectively than I normally would when just staring at the table. So basically, I didn't realize how intense it looked until the first time I really like saw it on TV. But yeah, I just wanted to. I wasn't so much about wanting to like stare the person down. I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna look at everything that happens, and then I would have it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna always like look at their eyes, and then that turned into this stare down.
So it starts off as a way to kind of focus more, and then it turns into your thing. Have you figured out some? Have you ran some sims in terms of the what's best to stare at? Like what's the most effective way to do it? Do you want to share any strategy for those that are potentially looking into getting into a better stare down?
I mean, I guess one of the biggest things is well, so, no, I haven't run any sims, but the one thing I would say is that just note like kind of anticipating things someone could say or do to like try to crack you up. Like the first, like a lot of people just have this idea. Like for some reason, people think this is going to be like the most unique thing ever. Like while I'm staring them down, they're going to like blow me a kiss. But, like that happens like once a live trip or something like that. Like the first time it happened, I was like, shocked, cracked up. But at this point, I've seen like just about any reaction someone could give, and just getting used to all that so you don't like crack up during hands. Like I think there's something to be said that like you're more likely to crack up when you're comfortable and less likely to crack up when you're not, sort of thing. I think just trying to be GTO and balanced by anticipating possible responses certainly helps.
I like how you've been saying that. You said this 3 times, I think now. We usually just say GTO, but you're taking it a bit step farther. GTO and balanced. So I might actually have to write this down for future GTO references when GTO and balanced. All right, I like that.
All right, sounds good.
Like an extension of the word GTO. So you're Pratyush's roommate. We just had Pratyush on a podcast last week, and you guys live together in this apartment you're in right now?
We did. Basically, Pratt doesn't really like Canadian winter and was just doing a lot of traveling this winter, so he moved out like November or so. So now it's just me and one other roommate.
Oh, okay. Do you live with another poker player as well, or is it not a poker player?
Yeah, just a friend of mine from high school who he used to play a little bit of poker, but doesn't play a ton of poker these days.
Oh, okay. I would think that living with you as a roommate, people would kind of be more inspired or more motivated to want to play poker just from seeing the kind of success that you have and kind of the lifestyle that you have, traveling around and buying a Lamborghini and doing all kind of fun things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably a pretty motivating environment. He's the CEO of a startup that's been doing reasonably well, so I don't think business is a lot bigger than poker, I guess. So I think he sort of views the upside of poker as not being as big as the potential upside. Maybe 10 years from now he'll be driving 10 Lamborghinis or something like that. You never know.
Probably. So is that the startup? You're involved. You have friends that are involved in a game, right? Some type of computer game.
Yeah, that's the guys who lent me the webcam and the microphone and stuff. Like, they're building this game called Prismata, which basically occupied all my time for the last half of 2014. I just got unbelievably addicted to this computer game, and my New Year's resolution this year is actually to try to be better at my job and stop just playing computer games all day. So I'm actually trying to improve at poker rather than just be complacent and just kind of traveling around playing soft live events. I actually want to get stay sharp and not be one of those people who falls behind the times. So I've been playing a lot less Prismata the last 5 weeks.
What is Prismata about?
So Prismata, it would be kind of similar to a turn-based StarCraft, or another way of looking at it would be kind of like Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering, but with no luck. So it's pretty much just a pure skill game in the way that chess is, but the way it kind of deviates is the unit pool is different every single game. So rather than chess, where it's a lot about memorization of openings and things like that, here you just kind of see what units are in play and then try to develop your strategy based on that.
Funny you should mention chess. Obviously, chess is a very avid topic us and the viewers very much enjoy talking about. We're going to get to chess in a bit because we love talking about my webcam. Calm down, webcam. Calm the fuck down. All right, so Prismata. So I was asking about that is I used to be very addicted to a video game as well, which was NBA 2K for Xbox. I played like 800 to 1,000 games online in like a 4-month time period. So I said the same thing you said. I was like, all right, I really have to stop being so addicted to this video game and have to start like focusing on poker again. But I was like, I need to play the game. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I quit. I got rid of my Xbox and I went to the gym and started playing it in real life. And now I'm addicted to it in real life. So I was gonna say maybe there's like a way you can take that like addiction for your game and then start playing it in real life. But I don't know if that would actually work for a game like Prismata, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that it'll be a little more, futuristic. Like the real life Prismata, you're fighting with like robots and all sorts of things like that. So maybe a few hundred years in the future, you'll be able to step aside from online Prismata and command like a real army to fight other armies of robots and stuff like that. But I don't think it is quite as transferable as basketball, video games to basketball.
Yeah, I think you're right. People in the chat are saying that Marcus, what's up, Marcus? Puppy said, told you play it before. Joey is beast. Epicurus says Prismata equals the GOAT strategy game. Man, we got some. Looks like people really enjoy Prismata.
Yeah, it's kind of it has a steep learning curve. It's I would say more than almost any game I've played. The 100th hour of the game is a lot more fun than the first hour of the game. So I think once people get into it, they get so hooked. The player pool isn't that big, but the player pool that does exist just plays it all the time. And it would be like introducing someone to like harder drugs for the first time. Like it's really fun, but it can take over your life, I guess.
Hey, you said you're a drug. Went back to the bidding. You said I'm a drug free. How would you know? What do you mean?
I'm just saying, seeing like other people in poker or your friends from high school or whatever it happens to be. It's definitely I think it's the funnest thing ever, but it also is definitely it's so easy to get hooked, I think.
I like it, man. So people in the chat, I haven't heard about something like this, but they're mentioning something about a Zoom prop bet that you're thinking about doing. What's up with that?
Oh yeah, so basically this goes along the lines of wanting to improve this year. I was talking with some friends who play mostly cash, and they're of the belief that people who play just a lot of live poker the way I do and don't really stay that sharp wouldn't be beating some of the like mid-stakes online games for as much as they think they would. And I kind of said, that's I think that's bullshit. Like I think I could walk into mid-stakes no limit and beat it. And this I can't give all the details or anything like that, but this turned into a pretty substantial prop bet on how much I can beat 500 Zoom for over the next little bit. And right now I've started the bet. I've been losing, so the bet's not looking good for me yet. But it goes on for a little while, so I imagine I'll be logging quite a few hands over the next few months.
Can you tell us any details about the bet? Maybe not specifics, how much money, but can you tell us how many hands you need to play, what type of win rate you need to have, or anything like that?
So yeah, I'm not allowed to say the rate I need to have. I'll say that once I can quit the bet at any point if I just admit, hey, I'm not beating these games as much as I think, I can quit the bet. They can't quit the bet until I'm up 30 buy-ins. And then I can just lose indefinitely, or if I'm not doing well. So and then the bet, it's not based on number of hands, but it also expires when the World Series begins.
Okay, sounds like it's like a very secretive sort of bet here.
Yeah, I talked to the people. Like I figured it's likely this would come up during this podcast, and they just said they didn't really want too many specifics getting talked about, but so yeah, I can only really say so much. There is a bet going on. It's fairly decent stakes, and it's been very motivating for me to improve my game, especially, I'm 8,000 hands in, and I'm down like 7.5 buy-ins, so I'm losing like 9 bigs per 100 or something like that. So it's not a huge sample, but it's not a good start or anything. So I'm definitely more motivated to improve.
No, I think it's funny how that works. Do you find that works in tournaments as well? Sometimes when you're not doing well or when you're losing, that's when you almost get more motivated to keep playing and get better.
For sure, yeah. I'm definitely the type of person, especially in tournaments, because tournaments is just so much fucking luck. Like anytime I'm winning, I'm just like, all right, cool, I'll never do that again. Like last year when I think I played 5 tournaments and had 6-figure scores in 2 of them, 7-figure scores in 3 of them. I'm just like, all right, I'll play tournaments the rest of my life and never do this again. Like this is like the most success I'm ever gonna have. Like, what's the point after this? But I think with cash, I could see it not being that way as much, because there's variance, but the variance is nowhere near as large. So when I'm losing, if I'm on a substantial downswing or whatnot, then I'm much more motivated to improve. Whereas when I'm winning, I'm just like, all right, if the poker gods just decided I'm going to be the lucky idiot who won this time.
So you're saying you had a five tournament stretch last year where you had those kind of results and like 5 closely, were they back to back sort of things like that, or what?
Yeah, it was literally 5 straight tournaments. Basically, and the end of the year, I played the last tournament I played in Prague was the High Roller, where I got 4th or 5th or something like that. And then I went down to PCA. I min cashed the Super High Roller. Then I played the main event. I chopped the main 3-handed and ended up coming 2nd. Then I decided I wasn't going to go to Australia, but then last minute I was just looking at flights and saw that, because I waited till the very last day, flights had gone down in price rather than like skyrocketing. And people were telling me the fields were going to be pretty good. So I didn't even play the main event in Australia. I just booked like a 4 or 5 day trip to Australia, went to play the 100K and the 250K, got 2nd in the 100K and 3rd in the 250. So it was just 5 consecutive tournaments, 5 consecutive scores. It was, pretty stupid.
Now, Mike, I got to tell you about something. I remember I asked you to come on the podcast maybe early December, and we have this thing called the podcast Run Good. It's whenever people come on the podcast or they're watching the podcast, they either run really good during their session or they have good results immediately after they come on the podcast. Maybe your podcast Run Good started a bit early, and now it kind of we're going to take a little bit of credit for that, man. All right. We appreciate you adding to the money total right now. I think we're up to 3.2 million. Actually, I have to see how much your scores were for. We might be a little bit closer to 5 million, but
that was 2013 to 2014.
Oh, never mind. Fuck, yeah. Man.
I did have a score down in Australia. I got 2nd in the 250 this year for like 1.2. So that'll.
Easy to get these things confused. I feel like I just saw you chop a high roller in Australia. Easy to get these type of things confused.
Yeah, no, it's I've done well down there. I've been pretty fortunate.
Oh, man, now I'm deleting that. Man, we're not up that much. Sorry, guys, we're not over the 5 million mark yet. For all you guys that are watching, now we're set.
Sorry, everyone. Maybe after the session or after like the next few tournaments, maybe I'll be able to push it over the 5 million mark. Oh, I saw one of the questions that got asked is, will the details of the bet be published? Yeah, once the bet's done, I'll be open about what the details of the bet were.
And this is only 2.5 Zoom, correct?
Yeah, it's only 2.5 Zoom. And I'm not allowed to play other games to practice for 2.5 Zoom. Basically, all my hands of No Limit have to be at 2.5 Zoom. I can't just go play 110 or 1-2 or 5-10 or something like that. The idea is they anticipate I'll be losing at the beginning and then improve, and they don't want me to be able to improve in games where I'm not doing well.
Are you allowed to talk strategy with other players currently playing the games? Can you get coaching? Can you do anything like that if you wanted to?
I'm allowed to do as much hand analysis as I want. I'm not allowed to get any sort of formal coaching. Like I can't just contact the best regs or the biggest winners and be like, teach me your secrets, but I'm allowed to, talk to friends who play cash and just run hands by them.
Okay. Well, if we want to see, are you tweeting about this or posting about this anywhere or anything like that?
Not really. I think the only place I mentioned it before this would have been in someone's PG and C thread. There's some guy who's one of the bigger winners at 2.5 Zoom. I just asked what he thought good methods of improving were, and I think that's the only place it's really been talked about publicly. Now this will be the first time when more than 5 people will see me talking about the bet. So I think that I'll probably give updates. Well, it's actually probably one of those things. It's possible I'll give up at some point, in which case there probably won't be a ton of updates. But I don't like losing at things. I don't like being shitty at things, especially when it's something I take pride in being good at. So I imagine that I'll either win this bet or lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I think it's very unlikely that I'll quit.
Yeah, it sounds like it's the kind of thing where you're down like 75 buy-ins. You're like, man, fuck this, I'm making this back.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you can just grind as much as you want. It's something where you could. Part of why I ended up in this bet is last year I just played like 30,000 hands and won like 25 buy-ins. Like I think I was winning like nine bigs per 100, and I was like, oh, winning 30 buy-ins is gotta be easy. I was obviously like god moding during that time, but I think that, and also apparently games have gotten tougher, but I think that that definitely played some role into me thinking that win rates would be higher, because it's obviously a pretty like ludicrously small sample.
Yeah. So people in the chat, they want to know about playing Phil Ivey heads up. So is this the first time you played Phil Ivey heads up for a tournament title? What's that like? Some speculation he's got a better stare down than you. Well, tell us about this experience.
Yes, I played Ivy heads up. It was first time I played him. It wasn't a very eventful heads up match. I think if I were to guess, I would guess it was something like 30 hands or something like that. I would say stare down wise, I think he has a better stare down in the sense that I don't really feel like I'm picking up anything off of Ivy, and he might be picking stuff up off of me. Results wise, he's definitely in spots where I've been bluffing and in spots where I've had it. I think historically he's guessed right against me better than I've guessed against him. So presumably he's got a better stare down there. Yeah, I think there's a decent number of people, at least like a few dozen people that I play with who I really don't really feel like I'm gaining anything off of them. But definitely, like I just out of habit keep staring people down. So I think it's quite possible against Ivy I would just be better off, or it's almost certainly the case that I would be better off just staring at the table and accepting that the more I'm doing interactive wise, the more he's going to benefit from that. So it could just make sense for me to just be like, all right, let's try to pretend this is online and not worry about picking up tells, just worry more about not giving off tells. That could be right against Ivy. That might be GTO.
So, I mean, I guess that's something actually interesting to think about. Is that, do you think that maybe for some people it's almost better off for you to, like, I'm sure you've probably thought about this a ton. How can I not give off any tells? And I'm sure you probably think that you're doing a pretty good job at it. Like, how can you improve on something like that? Is it a case of maybe asking other people, like, hey, can you be honest with me? Like, or asking friends, like, hey, you think I might be giving off anything in that situation?
Yeah, it's a little bit weird in the sense that even if someone thinks they pick something up, but first of all, when you're a tournament player, you don't really log that many hands against various opponents, and also the higher the stakes get, the more tells people will give away. So say, as an example, I've probably played about 6 or so final tables with Eric Seidel. If Eric and I were to talk, we could probably have somewhat of a sample against each other for things we may have noticed. But like an individual person who just thinks, hey, this river, I think Mike's bluffing, and here's why. If I happen to be bluffing, that doesn't mean that they actually pick something up, because I could have done that whether bluffing or not. And there's also another. So it's, first of all, one, you don't really have big samples, and two, the player pool that you have samples against is so small that you don't really. if it's 20 players in the tournament and you're friends with 12 of them or something, it's not as if it gets to your benefit to not really tell your friends that they're a tell box. So I think that, I think there are definitely people who are good friends of mine who I feel have like pretty glaring tells who, if we're just playing super high rollers against each other, it's not really in my best interest to tell them to stop. There aren't a ton of people like this, but there are definitely situations I can think of where, if I just did some super obvious tell and everyone knew about it, why would they tell me? I mean, I could see if they buy my action or swap with me being interested, but like there's few enough people in these things that you play with all the time that it's not really to anyone's benefit to tell people that they do X when they're bluffing and Y when they're not.
So how can that be something that you personally can improve on so it's something like if you're not aware of it. Obviously, if you were aware of it, you'd stop doing it. But if no one's going to tell you that you're doing it, it's like, how can you get better at getting better at it? You know what I mean? How can you know what you're doing wrong to improve at?
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of people just won't ever really notice, and it's something where, especially if it's something that only really happens when the stakes are small, like you get more excited, more nervous when you're, at a final table or your day 4 of a tournament. I can see there being a lot of people who the first few days of tournaments they're comfortable and not really giving away tells, and then as they get deeper, especially say a player in makeup, when they start, seeing the, light at the end of the tunnel, they might be able to clear makeup. They start getting nervous. They realize, hey, rather than winning 30K for my backer, I might actually, win $500,000 for myself. I think that's when a lot of people might start getting nervous. I think a lot of people, this is always the example I give when someone asks me, oh, so if you play poker, can you just see into people's soul and stuff? And the example I give to like a normal person is, if we were to play poker for $1, I might not be able to tell much about what they're doing. But if we were to play poker for $1,000, I could probably usually guess when they're, when they have a good hand and when they don't. Just because as the stakes get higher, people get more uncomfortable. And I think the same is said for most professional poker players. I think there are some people who that doesn't really hold true for, but I notice even with myself, as the stakes get high, I think that I'll be giving more things away than I would like to.
That's pretty interesting. That not something I thought of. I don't play much live poker, so it's not. I don't think about these things. But it's interesting that you said like on an early day, someone might be playing super comfortably, but as you get deeper, that's when you know what I mean. You can pick up those tells that you would never notice during the beginning stages of a tournament because they wouldn't be doing them then. So that's something interesting to know.
Yeah, and even just the more time you put into hands, with the first level of a tournament, hands on average might take a minute and a half or something, and then at final tables, the average hand might take 5 or 6 minutes. So when people are doing stuff like taking 20 seconds before checking a flop out of position and things like that, there's just more time to crack under the pressure and things like that. It's more standard to just think for 2 minutes before folding to a flop bet. It's more likely that either you won't make flop bets light or you'll rush your flop bets when they're light, knowing that you're going to get looked at for 2 minutes. There's just a lot. As the pace of play slows down, the amount of information goes up.
So are you a fan of the people that wear, like, I know a lot of people wear like this, like the scarves that cover the top half of their body and the glasses and the hoodies and stuff like that? Do you think that's like, what do you think? I know some people just don't like them and don't think some of those things shouldn't be allowed, but what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think stuff like that's to your benefit. I don't wear sunglasses at the table, but I probably should. And especially if I think against recreational players, I gain a lot from the fact that they know I'm going to stare them down. So there'll be situations where I'll raise, someone will go to defend their big blind, and they'll be like, oh fuck, it's this kid, and then they'll like fold a hand that they might have otherwise continued. And it's pretty beneficial when people are changing their ranges because they don't want to get looked at. That's a pretty helpful thing for me. But so say yourself. Pardon me?
I think it's called stare down equity.
Stare down equity is definitely GTO, and I think a lot of people, if you don't reputationally have that, probably everyone should wear sunglasses. I think that it's just provides you with more options for what to do without having to be as concerned with tells. Stuff like scarves, hoodies, I think they're probably right as well. But I like to be comfortable when I play. I don't like being overly hot or anything. But poker is about gaining information and concealing information. And I could really see there just being a lot of benefit in concealing as much as possible.
Plus, the scarves just kind of look cool on some people, and so very fashionable type of thing. If there's ever some ladies walking around, are women becoming more popular in tournament poker in the live scene?
I think there was a phase a few years ago where there were more girls getting into poker. I think it was partly just easier to break into poker than it is now. It used to be when win rates are higher, you could go from playing small stakes to the highest stakes in a fairly short period of time. Also, I think people were like dumber with their money when their money was easier, and they'd back a random girl for 10Ks, thinking she's going to get a sponsorship or something like that. So it seemed as if a few years ago there were more girls getting into the live scene. But I was just I was talking about this just like a few days ago with Brad about how there have been no real girls breaking into the high stakes community at all the last few years. This may not be the case in cash or heads up sit and goes, but at least in the tournament scene, I feel like there are almost no new players that I'm seeing.
Do you feel like there's even necessarily new men coming in, or that many new men? There's just no new people in general.
I think a lot less new people in general. I think it's tougher for everyone. And I also think within the high stakes community, it's always been a higher percent of women have had investors or backers or whatever, a sponsorship or something, than the general population. So I think that it's especially true for girls. But yeah, if you look, when I started playing live tournaments, there would be 18, 19-year-old players who were great at every stop. And now when I look around, when you look at the young guys, there's a few guys in their young 20s who play, but you don't see very many 18, 19, 20-year-olds crushing at the highest stakes. And I think the idea is just there's so many good professionals now that rising through the ranks takes a lot longer.
That's very true. The only young person I know crushing is my little brother from another mother in another country, Fedor, Crown Up guy. He seems to win a tournament. He seems to win a tournament once per day or something like that, it feels like, with him.
Yeah, no, he's probably the first person that comes to mind. What's he, about 21 or 22?
Well, I think he's 21 still.
Yeah, so he's probably, I would say he'd be like the first person that would come to mind as far as someone who's like burst onto the high stakes scene, and he still had like a scoop main event win or something like that. Like there are very few people who go up to playing live tournaments and are playing, super high rollers or something without ever having that life-changing thing. Like there are very few people who have just grinded their way through small stakes cash to mid stakes cash to high stakes cash, and now they're playing 100Ks or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's just gotten a lot tougher. Like I think I was very much in the right place at the right time for learning poker, and so are most sort of established players. That it was so much easier to break through then.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting. I can't remember who else I was talking about this with, but we were talking about why the discussion was North American, United States specifically, is that you don't see many young Americans that are even play poker starting to come up in poker just because there's really no way for them to play it. But I didn't think about it from a worldwide standpoint. It also does kind of seem that way as well. It's just the players are playing at such a high level. Everyone on the line's been playing for quite a long time. So it's just, it's much harder to. Yeah, I wonder if that'll change. I don't see that changing actually, because I only see the games getting, maybe not even the players are necessarily getting really good. It's just that there's more solid players, and it's just harder for new players to overcome those type of players.
Yeah, I think when I started playing online poker, I could go sit at a table where it's exclusively recreational players, have a high win rate without being an elite player. Now, you can. Even if you are an elite player, your win rates won't be that big. Eventually, you're going to hit stakes where there are going to be, tons and tons of professionals, and the stake that's required for is getting lower and lower. I would guess if you play 25 NL online, maybe even 10 NL online, there'll be a bunch of professionals playing, and it's definitely a much more competitive environment than existed when I started coming through the ranks.
That's true. Someone in the chat said New Jersey up and coming. That actually might be true. I feel like there's probably are some young kids that live in the states where online poker is legal that might be honing their craft, and we might see them in a year or two or something like that.
I think that's definitely possible. I do think having the bigger player pools and the tougher player pools really makes things just more competitive. We were recently in a discussion talking about WPT regs, saying who we think are the best regs who play the American circuit of like all the 3K buy-ins and stuff like that. And someone brought up the point that they said like, other than Darren Elias, they don't think anyone who's doing that as their main thing is an elite player anymore. The fact that it's mostly Americans who have lost online poker means that the majority of people doing that have somewhat fallen behind the times. I mean, there may be other examples that we forgot about, but we were trying to think of people who don't play EPTs, people who aren't playing, the majority of Sundays online, or who aren't playing a lot of online cash or something. There aren't that many who have stayed top players. Whereas if you went back in time 6 years and you were to ask who are the top tournament players, a large percent of them would have been American WPT regs.
That's interesting. That's actually that specific reason is why I initially moved out of the country, was because I kept telling myself, if I stay in America, I'm going to fall behind the time. Like that's what's going to happen 2 or 3 years from now. I'm going to be sitting there thinking like, fuck, I really wish I didn't, because there's these people that are rest of the world that are consistently putting in hours every single day. And if you don't play in these competitive environments for a period of time, I think it's only natural for you to fall behind the current times.
Yeah, I think it's very, very difficult to stay competitive. I think that, especially just playing live, which is a good chunk of my volume, you're just not going to stay as current as people who are, every time they're playing a hand, they can then send it to their friends over Skype, analyze it, throw it into like Card Runners EV, really just like learn the shit out of what they're doing. And I think for me, for the last little while, I've just been one of those people who I think relative to the player pool, I've been falling behind. I think that the average person playing my stakes has been working harder than I have. So I mean, last year was my best year ever, but I think that my edge, that's I think just largely variance. I think my edge relative to the fields I'm playing in has been decreasing, and I don't really want that to be the case.
Well, that's actually an interesting question that I was going to ask you, is that you've been playing a long time now. You've had a lot of success. How I feel like most people over time, they sort of get complacent with that. How do you still have the motivation to want to get back to being, feeling like you're super competitive and you might have an edge in the games you're playing again? Like, where's the motivation come from on that standpoint?
I think a lot of it just comes from, well, first of all, it's not easy. Like I've been in this discussion with a lot of other players who have had substantial levels of success, that the most exciting part of poker is when you're kind of experiencing that exponential growth where, every 3 months or 6 months your bankroll might double or something. That's so much more exciting. Even if that's just doubling from $500 to $1,000 or something, that's more, I think, for me at least, was often kind of more exciting than sort of being at or near the top. I think that at the top, going and playing tournaments, if I win a big tournament, it's not going to, change my life, or it's not going to get me a sponsorship. There's nothing that's really going to really change. So I think it is tougher to be motivated, especially as far as, poker. It's a very you're not really contributing anything. You're just like a lot of other things. Say you're a doctor and you could retire when you're 40. You could at least be able to be like, well, even though I could retire and do nothing, I can go save hundreds of lives and feel good about myself doing so. I think with poker, you can have the mentality of, hey, I can make more money, donate that to charity or something, but it's still just money at the end of the day, and it's tough when you have as much money as you think you'll want or need. it's tough to be motivated when the main goal of the game is to make more money.
Speaking of my life, that's why I started doing podcasts. This is the exact reason. I was like, man, this isn't very motivating or very much fun anymore. Just like playing poker just to make as much money. It's like so that's one of the big reasons I started doing these things, was that it was kind of entertaining. It's fun. You get to learn about new people, and some people watch. They get some inspiration. They get motivated to want to play or do better. So that's have you thought about doing something? Have you started doing other things outside of just playing poker that you feel like maybe helps you feel differently than that?
So yeah, I would say as far as other things I do with my time, a lot of them aren't financially motivated, I guess. Like, are you asking about in the sense of hobbies or in the sense of stuff to get me more motivated about poker?
I'd say stuff that maybe makes you feel like like you said, poker doesn't make you feel like you're really contributing or really accomplishing something. So things that might make you feel like you are making an impact in something or you're contributing in some ways.
I'd say basically I'm not contributing at all. I think my mentality is sort of, hey, my time is most productive with poker, rather than going and doing charitable work. I'd rather make more money at poker and then pay
Figure it out.
someone to do charitable work. Or once my time is valueless, which I think poker is going to die at some point, and once my time becomes effectively valueless, then do things along those lines then. I think right now poker is the thing I'm best at, and especially after quitting Prismata, I'm enjoying it a lot. So that's been motivating me lately. I think also things. I'm definitely someone who I'm motivated when people tell me I can't do something. So when someone's saying, "Hey, Mike, like I don't think you're better than the mid-stakes no limit player pool," that makes me, especially when it's coming from people that I respect, it's sort of like a slap in the face that makes me want to improve. So I think that my motivation right now is substantially higher. Like, and when I wake up on a Tuesday, rather than just thinking, hey, like I'm excited to go to the gym today, I'm thinking, hey, I'm excited to review some hands, analyze some of my opponents, put in a couple sessions. It's, even though the money there isn't going to change my life, and that's a big part of why I haven't done as much grinding the last little bit. Just wanting to prove that I can do something is much more motivating.
Yeah, I think the approach you're taking is good. It's like you kind of recognize, all right, like if I just embrace this time right now that I have, this opportunity I have right now to work hard to make as much as I can, at some point in time I'll be, when I transition away from poker, I'll be in a good position to make this contribution that I feel like I might want to make or might need to make or something like that.
Yeah, I think my mentality with poker is I want to do well enough at it that my decisions after poker don't need to be financially motivated in the slightest. I think if I were to guess the most likely thing that I'll do after poker, and the chances of this are still probably less than 10%, but I would just say it's the most likely thing, I'll likely end up starting up a rock climbing gym. And I think that my mentality behind that is that, hey, I think that this is a huge industry where I'll be making X% a year or anything. I just love rock climbing. I like the community that I met through doing it. I think it's just a lot of fun. I think more people should get into it, and I think that that right now that's something fairly likely that I would get into. And it wouldn't be about trying to make the most I can. It would just be, hey, this is something that I enjoy, and I'd like to see other people enjoying it too.
Rock climbing, for those listening, very underrated first date option. I used to do that at some first dates. I would take women rock climbing, and I think that it's a very underutilized option out there for people on their first dates.
I think definitely I think unromantic dates are substantially better than romantic ones, and I think it's also something where no matter, especially if you've done it like a non-zero amount of times, you're just gonna be like reasonably good at it. Mm-hmm. It's something that's like somewhat, I guess, physical. I guess there's not like it's much easier to like make body contact when like rock climbing than when like sitting across like a 4-foot table or like in a dark movie theater or something like that where it's not like conversational at all. It's just something where you're kind of both like working on something.
Yeah, someone in the chat said rock climbing is next step after chess, and playing chess is actually one of our favorite first date activities as well. So playing chess, I'll just tell you, it's like code. So it came up when Fedor was on here, and he was talking about playing chess with Jen Shahad, and I was like, what are you guys playing chess? What is it? Chess? You playing chess? So now we use playing chess as a way to say, anytime we're talking about hanging out with someone or going on a date with someone or we're gonna hang out, like it's like a code word for like having somebody over at your house. I'm playing chess with this girl today.
Okay, gotcha. Good to know. Yeah, I saw in Pratt's podcast he got owned a little bit for talking about playing chess with little boys.
Oh yeah, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
you like chess with little boy? Tell us more about your little boy fiction. You like tell us more. Yeah, and he was yeah. Well, people that come on they don't know about it, so we kind of troll them for like 35 seconds, and then we like this is what playing chess really means. So
Yeah, gotcha. Someone raised a good point in the chat that girls above 160 probably don't like rock climbing, and you said 160 or below they gotta go, right?
well, okay. So this is for all my BGGers out there. Listen, guys, I know there might be some new people listening to the podcast. This is a kind of a lifestyle some of us have. It's called the big girl grind. 160 or below, gotta go. 160 or above, we'll show you love. You come hang out at the podcast. We got love for you. But so GTO for this is that you want to find a girl who's 160 pounds, but you gotta make sure she's muscular. You don't want to find a 160-pound girl who's unathletic. You want to find one that's got some nice quads, some real strong leg muscles, because those girls are now they're gonna fuck you up at rock climbing too. They're probably gonna be pretty competitive in terms of first up the wall. So could
Yeah, that's a good point. You gotta be selective with the big girl grind rock climbing girls. I think it's a small subset of girls who are heavy and good at climbing.
well, what you know about the big girl grind, Mike?
I'm not too well versed in the big girl grind.
You one of those small blonde girl grinders, aren't you?
Yeah, that's kind of me. There's been some mid-sized girls. Maybe some. I mean, some that I would classify as bigger, but not that my friends who are into the big girl grind would classify as bigger. But yeah, I think the big girl grind is something I've probably too little experience in.
Hmm. You should try it out, man. Well, how old are you? You're still pretty young, right?
Yeah, 25.
You're getting old. I mean, you're not as old as me, but you're getting kind of 25. I remember when you used to be. All right, so people in the chat want to talk about this. We're gonna bring it up. Let's go back to a date and time, right? We're 18 years old. We got big shiny braces. We're venturing out into the live poker world. There's a world champ, very talkative man by the name of Jamie Gold out there on the scene. He makes a very questionable play against you, and he ends up winning a pot all in. And you make a comment where you say, "Live players suck." Take us back to that day. Talk us through that hand. Let's relive that moment together. People want to hear about it.
Yeah, so that hand was pretty fun. It was my first live tournament ever. It was literally 1B of the tournament was my 18th birthday, and this was the first time they had done World Series Europe, and the youngest bracelet winner was like 21 in a month or something, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm gonna win a bracelet when I'm 18 in 4 days or something. Like I'm gonna go win this tournament. And obviously, I was like a young kid who had run good online and was deluded about how easy it is to win tournaments. But I just decided I'm gonna win this tournament, and the way fortune should have it, I got moved to the TV table up against Jamie Gold.
Mike, I'm going to interrupt you real quick because someone made a good point. So I'm going to play the clip for people that have never seen it. So I just have to do it because some people might not know what we're talking about. And it's a classic clip.
Yeah, no, I've seen this probably 50 times by now, and I still find it pretty hilarious.
All right, well, I haven't seen it in like 3 weeks since PokerTube put it up, so I'm gonna enjoy looking at this again. Why isn't it working? Come on, let's go, computer. What's on the computer today? Jamie Gold versus Timex. All right, let's see. How does this not come up first? There's some kind of code. We gotta search for it on YouTube.
I know it's definitely on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen it before too.
I'm pretty sure if you just search either of our names on YouTube, I'm guessing it's like the first thing to come up. I think it's my most watched YouTube clip.
this one. No. I see you wearing some sick orange tank top. I'm pissed you didn't wear that for the podcast, man.
Oh yeah, I've heard you mention me and my tank top game quite a bit. It's actually I wear a tank top probably less than 1 day a year, but I happen to wear it a day that I did well in a tournament. So now everyone thinks I'm the orange tank top guy. But yeah, that tournament was played outside in like 35-degree humid weather. So the first day I wore a t-shirt and was sweating too much, and there was also like the cameras and lights on you, which is like televised tables are way hotter than people would think. So I was just like sweating balls, so I just wore a tank top for the final table.
Well, I thought you were like really into tank top GTO, so I was looking forward to breaking down different tank tops and why you wear them, but that's all right. So okay, I got the clip. Let's put this up. I'm gonna put it up in here. I want to make sure I don't show any like a bad screen that might have some other sort of inappropriate thing on here. All right, so I'm gonna put it focus on this. All right, guys. So here's the video. This is the Timex hand. We're gonna watch it in its entirety. We're gonna listen to it. We're gonna check it out.
It's his 18th birthday. He's flown over from the States to take part in his first ever legal tournament, and he's landed on the feature table against the former world champion.
And this is a rough spot for him. He could lose his virginity against some top players.
His virginity.
Jamie Gold has entered with pocket threes. A fairly gentle hand. Action folding around the table. But Lovelady picks up the ace rag and decides to have a peek. And look at this! Birthday boy has picked up the fish hooks. And he says, high raise.
How small you were. Oh my God.
He's got the button as well. That's a great place to have two jacks with position. Well, one of his jacks is dead.
Adventurous does Jamie Gold feel with his pocket threes.
Well, it looks like a position raise to me. Whoa! Wow, I wasn't expecting a re-raise from Jamie Gold, though. I was expecting at least a flat call, but not a raise. Wow.
Well, maybe Jamie figures he can bully this young pup.
Well, I think the only way he's going to bully him is a big raise. Otherwise, he's going to get action from the kid. And 2,000's not going to be enough. If I'm the kid here, I'm definitely going to at least call. And the third player got out of the way, so it's down to McDonald and Gold only.
McDonald may be considering a raise.
You know, I favor just a flat call here. He's got position. Yep, he does make the call.
Well, from your lips to his ears, we will see a flop. 4-1 favourite.
And the diamonds, 4 clubs.
And that's a great flop for the jacks.
And a bad flop for Jamie Gold. 3 overcards. Well, at least Jamie Gold can probably get out of this hand with a minimal amount of damage here.
I can't see if there's any red.
No red.
12.
Jamie could be painting another picture here.
The kid's got enough chips here to put a real dent in Jamie Gold's stack. I don't think Jamie Gold's going to get frisky here. He checks to the kid. With an overpair here, if I'm McDonald, I'm definitely going to go ahead and lead and try to take this pot down.
He says 2.5.
Oh, such a small bet. That's a dangerous bet with a straight and a flush
Look
draw.
at that.
Oh.
Jamie Gold all in. He sensed weakness.
And you know what? With the bet that McDonald made, I don't blame Jamie Gold. It did feel weak. It felt like the kid was really afraid.
I hope I got something.
Well, Jamie Gold's got something, but not enough if McDonald calls. This is a tough spot for the kid. This is his tournament life on the line.
What's your name online?
I don't play online.
Okay.
My name's Jamie Gold right here.
All the kids trying to get a read out of Jamie Gold.
Oh my gosh.
This is my first tournament.
I know who you are. Just a couple people have said they're Jamie Gold online.
No, people do that all the time.
People pretend to be Jamie Gold? What sick world are we living in?
Well, Jamie is a good guy. I don't blame him.
I call.
Good.
Oh,
I got nothing.
and the kid makes the call.
Nice hand.
Well, the good news for Jamie Gold is this pot won't bust him.
I knew what you had. I just didn't think you'd call.
The bad news is it'll put a big dent in his stack. Oh, and the kid starts to laugh.
That is a dangerous thing to do.
And Confucius say, he who laughs last, laughs longest.
That's what you get for calling the jacks.
Rubbing it in. It'll need to be a jack to save the birthday boy. It is not full house for Jamie Gold. I bet McDonald wishes he'd asked for a Skay Electric instead for his present. And not so much as a hard luck or a handshake from Jamie Gold.
Definitely no send-off party waiting for him.
That was on his 18th birthday, so you know. Today's birthday.
You gotta lay down the jacks, that's all. Nah, he made a great call. What are you gonna do?
He's sort of like notoriously bad. He did say something about that's what you get for playing with jacks. So I don't know if he has a whole lot of respect for my game. I don't know. Live players suck.
Oh, all right. So we got to watch that hand, Mike. That's a really great hand. That's a great hand, man.
Yeah, no, that hand is just so much fun. So there's a few things I guess people don't really know too much about what happened during that hand. The first thing is when I was asking him for his online name, it's not like I really thought I'd get a ton of information, but at the time, Sir Watts and I used to short stack the nosebleed games. We just buy in for 20 bigs, wait for someone to spike call us, and then leave. And so 2 or 3 of the regs said that they were Jamie Gold. So I just figured, all right, I might lose here. I just want to know his name so that I know if any of these people are lying, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that was the one thing. And then the next thing is after that comment, after getting called, Sir Watts was on the rail and drunk, and he was like, Jamie, you should have asked him for his online name. It's Timex, motherfucker. And it was just pretty funny, and then just nails the 3 on the turn. So it's just I just thought it was pretty funny series of events. But I wasn't laughing at him for playing 3s that way. I was laughing at Sir Watts.
Okay, so when you start laughing during the hand, that's where that was from. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So they don't want to have swearing on the show, so they had to edit out Sir Watts, yelling that. So.
How about Robert Williamson? Robert Williamson, I'm surprised he doesn't do more poker commentary these days. He had some analysis. There was his commentary was pretty accurate. It seemed like so.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny. He critiques me for my bad bet sizing, and then says that because of my bad bet sizing, it's good to shove the 3s there and stuff. It's just so, I don't know, just so contradictory. I have 2x pot. And he wants me to, fire out a big pot-sized bet or something like that. It was ludicrous.
Do you think he was trolling? He's kidding, trolling when he says that? You think he's really serious?
I mean, this was 7.5 years ago. 7? Fuck him. And basically, I think he was probably behind the times then. So this is decade-old analysis.
I mean, I'm pretty sure when I watched it, I thought he was trolling too, but now I'm convinced he was just trolling. Maybe he was I think Robert Williamson might have been ahead of the time. Now everyone's so apt on giving away strategy, and they want to tell you 100% how they play. Robert Williamson was one of those old school guys who was like, I'm going to tell you the wrong thing to do in every situation, and I'm going to deliver it in a voice that makes you believe me and actually think I'm telling you how to play.
Yeah, I mean that'd be fantastic. If we found out tomorrow that Robert Williamson is True Teller or something like that, it would just make my life. If we found that out, I would, no matter what happens for the rest of my life, I would die happy if we find out Robert Williamson is True Teller or some other elite reg who just is kind of under the radar.
That would be ridiculous. That would be sick. That'd be next level. I imagine Robert Williamson. Wait, wasn't he he was the master of Palominoa? Wasn't that his nickname? The Godfather of PLO or something like that?
I think so. Yeah. You should have him on the podcast. No, I mean, I guess he probably wouldn't give the right strategy advice. I mean, he would know the right strategy advice. He just wouldn't want to share it with you guys. But he probably still is the best PLO player in the world.
I mean, he probably might be. Debatable, he could be. Yeah, I mean, he could be. Robert Williamson, if you're watching this, we invite you to come on the High Stakes PLO podcast. We'd love to talk some hands with you. we'd like to break down some spots and get your opinion on the current bet sizing trends in online PLO right now. So, the PLO. Someone start the 2+2 thread. Is Robert Williamson the third true teller? Please, someone start. Someone go start the thread.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay, so someone said, or actually, back to that hand. So the comment at the end, live players suck. Did you get any flack from people for saying that or anything?
Oh no, everyone loves hearing that. I was surprised that I got less shit than was intended. Even there, they did some I'm not sure if they did video editing or made me rephrase my answer or something, but basically they were asking, they knew that I was playing in the biggest games online, and they asked how, playing with Term on my 18th birthday, how I felt the biggest games online compared to the biggest stakes live, and I was just saying, at the equivalent stakes online, the players are just so much better in comparison. The live players just suck. And then they said, all right, edit that down. Sort of. My intention was basically to say, hey, when you're playing, 20K no limit, the players are a lot better than when you're playing a 20K buy-in no limit tournament. And that was my intention. But I think they edited it down. They just wanted the live players suck comparison.
Oh, they did a little crafty editing there. That makes sense.
Yeah. So that was and I played with a bunch of people I had seen on TV during this tournament. I got moved once or twice, and also just also every year I would have pieces of people at the series, sweat updates and stuff like that, and it just seemed so abundantly clear that the people from online backgrounds were just coming into these live tournaments and just stomping on them. Now it's gotten to the point where if you were to say, back then there used to be this kind of split. You'd either be an online player, or you'd be a live player. Now it's just sort of you're both, because if you're a live player, you're broke by now. I guess there are a few people who aren't really that way. Someone like Eric Seid.
Oh, we got a little lag. It looks like on Mike's end here. All right, we'll talk about some comments until Mike comes back. I haven't given any shout-outs yet. We're like an hour into it right now, so we'll give a couple shout-outs. So we got Ali Bro. What's up, Ali Bro? Puppy. Mike's going to have to refresh. Oh, Mike, are you back now? Mike, are you there?
Yeah, was that... Sorry, I was just talking about... I just talked... It was not working?
Oh, it froze for a bit. Yeah, it froze and lagged out there.
What was the last thing that you were saying?
I think I don't care. You think you were talking about the comparison to a live player if they're only off. Someone really made. So you were talking about when you're a live player, you're probably just broke if you're not a live and online player.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's basically the gist of what I was saying. I was more or less saying that now there are people who play more live or play more online, but basically all good poker players come from an online background to some extent. There are very few people who just are top players who just started out by playing, at their local casino and then worked their way up. It's just games have gotten too competitive.
Yeah, someone really started the fucking thread in 2+2. I'm just kidding. We're joking, guys. Everyone start the fucking thread. Oh my god! All right, I gotta have a couple more shout-outs. I haven't given shout-outs in a while. We got my boy Adrian Phoenix, AJ Phoenix. I had him on. He streams on Twitch, guys. If you haven't seen his Twitch stream, check it out. We did a Sunday live stream that was like 7 hours. Who else we got? Alexander Colquat. What's up, Poppy? Hola, Kim Jong Joey. They call me Kim Jong Joey on Twitch because I just ban people left and right. So
okay.
That was I love banning people in the chat for saying some dumb things. Zach, what's up, Zach? Giovanni, what's up, Zach? Painting, who we got? Marcus, Puppy, Wim, Rose Boom, what's up? Bob Mom, Matt Campbell. We got a lot of regs here today. Got a couple unknown names. They must be big Timex fans. Andre S, what's up? Puppy. I'm just scrolling through real quick. Mark Cohen, Joey's awesome. I agree. I think I saw TC up here somewhere. Andreas, what's up, man? All right, man. All right. I gotta say a couple poppies. And you ever use the term poppy?
I think 0 times in my life.
Man, that's the greatest word ever. You go, hola, cola mosa, puppy, puppy, puppy. You can say it like papito, poppington. You can throw so many things on there. It's
What does it mean?
What does Poppy mean? Poppy means whatever you want it to mean. Poppy means friend, lover. I mean, Poppy can really mean anything. It's one of those. Oh, who's that in the background? Wait, who's there? Is somebody there?
Here?
Yeah.
I don't think so. One sec.
There it goes.
Yo, is anyone here?
Maybe it was a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible my roommate came back, but I don't think so. Oh, is there? Oh, I can sort of see. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe it was just a shadow.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, Adrian. Adrian wanted me to ask you about some cat. I don't. Cat.
Oh yeah. So basically, someone was just sending me money. I had no idea why, but I just got like a $1,712 transfer to my account, or some arbitrary amount, and I had no idea what was going on. And then I got a couple days later, I got another $500 transfer, and it was from this account which I had seen before, but like had never talked to the person or dealt with it or anything like that. And then I knew that I saw they had a 2+2 account, so I sent them a message and asked them about this. Asked hey, why are you sending me money? And all they sent me was a picture of a weird-looking cat, and nothing else. So I had no idea what was going on. And I think they even sent another transfer. They were kind of becoming a cheapskate. I think maybe the third one was like $100 or something like that. I was a little disappointed. But basically, I got several transfers from the person, and then when I had no idea where they were coming from. When I was off of Skype for a few days. When I came back, it turned out someone owed me money, and they were in America and were getting AJ Phoenix to send to me. That's why I guess Adrian Phoenix is bringing this up. But basically, so yeah, he was the one who sent this strange cat picture, and I was just so confused. And I tweeted about this, that this strange cat guy is sending me money. It ended up being a few $1,000s, but then eventually got it resolved, and it wasn't just someone with too much money sending me extra. It was actually money that I was owed.
Fucking AJ. AJ, man, what are you doing? AJ would do something like that. You ask why are you sending me money, and he sends you a cat photo.
Okay, yeah. So so now I'm reading the questions. Yeah, I guess I got the numbers wrong. It was 2,700 and 1,000, I think. So yeah, I think the guy still owes me money. So you can tell AJ he can send me some more money if he wants. I'll take cat pictures. I'll take money. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but listen, if you guys want to send me money too, that's perfectly fine. You can send me money, send me photos of you, send me money with photos. I'll take some money too. Exactly. That would be great. I'd love some money. I read a comment. Someone said something about Hayden Panettiere.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the Hayden Panettiere thing was I don't actually know how to pronounce her last name. Was kind of interesting. I did a Reddit AMA. And someone asked, "What's the most you've ever paid for sex?" And I haven't paid for sex, but this came up. I said how much I would pay for sex, and I remember when I was 17, my favorite TV show was Heroes, or it was one of my favorite shows for the first season, and Hayden Panettiere was the star of it, and I thought she was the hottest girl in the world. At the time, I thought she was insanely attractive. And the one day I was at I think my parents' cottage, and I didn't really have anything to do, so I was reading some gossip magazine or something. And I probably spent a few hours of doing that in my life. But there was an interview with her in there, it was People magazine or something. And part of it, they were asking about what she's doing with her life, upcoming gigs, and one of the things what if you could have anything in the world, what would it be? And what she said there is, if she could have anything in the world, it would be to stay in this underwater hotel in Fiji. And she was saying, oh, but it's $5,000 a night and blah 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 blah. And there was me just thinking fuck, I was already playing high stakes online. I think I was already a millionaire at that point. And I was just fuck, I'd pay $5,000 a night to go stay in an underwater hotel and bang Hayden Panettiere. So I said I was just there reading it, and I was so nonchalant. In hindsight, the fact that I was a 17-year-old kid thinking this I was just thinking, oh, that could be arranged. Like if Twitter existed back then, I'd have like hit her up and be like, "Yo, girl, want to go to Fiji?" But yeah, basically, I said so. The most I would pay for sex would be over 5,000.
Did you ever get a chance to meet her?
No, never got a chance to meet her. So that's yeah, never. And I think now she's married or has kids or something like that. But
Pretty sure she's married to like a 6'10" dude who is a professional like heavyweight boxer. So.
okay, so yeah, the things aren't looking so hot.
Oh, your video. Oh, your video's back. I think your girlfriend kind of looks. I mean, looks in the same. You could. I mean, there could be a potential comparison between her and Hayden Panettiere.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Now I see why. That makes sense. Why you guys started dating. How long you been dating for? Over a year, right?
Yeah, I think we started dating last fall, so maybe almost a year and a half, I guess.
Did you meet her through poker? Through a poker friend? You meet her around town or something like that?
Yeah, I met her. If anyone from Waterloo is watching this, I met her at Dirty Phil's, the best and cheapest bar in our town.
Shout out to Waterloo, man. If you're out there listening from Waterloo, if you're one of those people that like low-key stalks Mike and you just watch a bunch of stuff he's on and you don't ever say hi, say what's up to Mike. He probably wants to hear from you. You want to hear from him, right?
Yeah, I imagine there's probably a few. I like post this on Facebook. So there's probably some people from Waterloo watching this. But basically, the bar was started, I guess, by a guy named Phil or something, and he called it Phil's. And I guess it became Phil's Sons and Phil's Grandsons because it's been around for so long. But they don't really clean the place very well. They have like $2 drinks, which is just insanely cheap, and it's just a nasty sort of like dungeon sort of bar. But you just go there, everyone gets unbelievably fucked up. It's right near all the universities. Big like college crowd. It's good 5-6 nights of the week. It's just a super super fun bar.
So you met your girlfriend there. You didn't know her before that. You just met her there randomly one time. You guys hit it off.
Just met at the bar, hit it off. Hung out for a couple months and then started dating after that.
So how does that work out? So obviously you travel a lot, and you said she's kind of scared of flying. You're a poker player. I'm sure you guys' lifestyles are drastically different. What do you think makes it work? What's the secret in it lasting? Because I'm sure you've had opportunities to date women before in the past for longer periods of time. What makes this different than those times?
I think it was just very. Like I think we just got along very well. I think with a lot of girls that I've hooked up with or dated in the past or whatever you want to call it, I guess I've definitely I found hang out with them a handful of times and then I'm not that excited to hang out with them anymore, or just definitely couldn't see myself hanging out with them. I don't enjoy it so much that it makes me want to not hang out with other girls, play chess with other girls. And so basically, we both just were kind of on the same page about this, and then just found, our viewpoints on things are similar. We get along well. We can hang out pretty much every day, and neither of us are getting bored. And she's like quite similar to me. Like she's not a very relationship-y person. She had been single for a year or 2 years before that as well. And I think we just, when we, a lot of girls, when I would meet them, and I'd be very clear, hey, look, I travel so much, I don't want to be in a relationship, blah blah blah. And the girls in their mind, they're kind of like trying to like trick you into a relationship. And I think when she met me, like she was definitely on that same page. Like I think we could have just hung out, like been fuck buddies, see other people like for quite a long time. And I don't think there was any real like. It's not like she was trying to trick me into a relationship. I don't think, which is something that I think has been the case with in a lot of other situations, I guess. And I think that we just kind of got along by having similar, values, I guess.
You say trick as in tell you that I'm perfectly okay with you doing this, that's fine, I can deal with it, and then when it actually comes down to it, they can't deal with it. And then they're like, no, they want you to change your lifestyle, and you're like, listen, I was pretty clear, my approach and what my mindset on this and my lifestyle, I'm not going to change it. You knew this when we got into it, why are you saying this now?
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's super common that a lot of people, girls just want, and I mean guys as well, I guess, want to act sort of more chill than they are when they're like when they're first starting to see someone. Like when we were first like dating, she said she would be down for an open relationship, and all my friends think that's like the coolest thing. For me, I just think, hey, I think that if I'm in a relationship, for me at least, I think I would be the amount of like unhappiness I would get from her sleeping with other people is more than the happiness I would get from sleeping with other people. And I think that that's, a lot of people, when they think open relationship, they just think they're going out wheeling tons of girls. It's going to be, it's going to be absolutely great. They just imagine like the glamorous aspect of it. Get threesomes every day or whatever they think, I guess. And I think that that's, not like real life, I guess. And so I think that there's definitely something to be said where you, I don't know, just when traveling, I can see how people would want that, but it's definitely not. It's one of those things like people probably think it's cooler in theory than in practice, I suppose.
Yeah, open relationships very rarely work unless like you have two people who like are really understand it and can really like separate and can really just like not care in a way. But it's like kind of bad, I think, to not care about like someone you're with if they're out there hooking up with someone else. Like if you're not caring about them, like how much can you really like them? But then again, it's an open relationship, so you're not supposed to care. So it's kind of like
yeah. It sort of seems like rather than being in an open relationship, it might just be better to not be in a relationship. And if you're okay with an open, this is my opinion at least. I think yeah, if both people are down for an open relationship, they would probably be down to not be in a relationship as well. I know one girl who's in an open marriage, and just when hearing her talk about like stories, it just seems like it makes no sense as far as the jealousy she feels or the jealousy her husband feels, and it just seems one person will sleep with someone and then the other will, like, not because they want to, but just to like equalize it. It just sounds like an emotional nightmare.
the emotional nightmare for sure. That's yeah. I've thought about it a bunch because I have a friend who is very into that type of lifestyle. So I've definitely talked with her about it, and I don't know. I don't think I do that kind of thing. What is you've traveled a lot, so I know we've talked a bit before and at various times over the years about you meet women on traveling. So this sometimes problem that I have is you're tempted to then move to that place or move to a different place for that person. Has that ever come up with you? Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever been tempted to do that? And if not, how have you resisted that temptation?
Yeah, I've never really felt that temptation, I guess. I guess part of that comes from the fact that I haven't really been in one spot for a long period of time. Like when I've hooked up with a girl when traveling, it's often I'm leaving 3 days later or something like that, and I think it would take a substantial amount of time before I'm like, hey, I want to see this person every day. I think I'm somewhat of a emotionally closed off kind of person, and I think it takes me a very long period of time to really get to know someone that well. So I think that I've never really experienced that.
Someone in the chat said, my friend's Ebony Kenny. So you know Ebony Kenny, I've heard.
Okay.
Do you know Ebony?
Yeah, I know Ebony.
She mentioned she knew you.
Okay. Hi, Ebony's friend, or Ebony. Yeah, I know her.
Ebony's not watching, but yeah, she's been on a couple podcasts, and we've hung out a couple various places around the United States.
Gotcha.
So, Andreas, he says Joey fucking falls in love every step he is in. That's not true. I mean, maybe I don't think in Malta I didn't fall in love with anyone when I was with you, Andreas. But although I might have, I suppose. I don't know, man. I'm working on that. Don't fall in love with people. I'm working on that.
Tricky, I guess.
Did I? Yes. I was gonna use that exact. I was gonna use that exact term you just used. I'm like, but I don't want to. I just won't say it. But I've
You
actually.
just want to say it? Okay.
I mean, you say it if you want to say it. I'm not gonna say it. You can say it if you want to say it, though.
All right. I'm happy to be Eskimo brothers with you, Joey.
I was saying that when you coming out, I was like, oh, my Eskimo bro, Mike McDonald, Timex is coming on the podcast very soon. But yeah, it was. I was like, oh, and Ebony, I was, that's fine. Yeah, I was like, oh, I could see that. I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel a little closer to you already.
Yeah, man, I feel close. I feel closer to you now too. Don't think Timex fun to talk about Ebony nonstop says. I don't think he cares. You seem pretty open about talking about different things.
I mean, like fairly open, I guess. Yeah.
People are just getting the chat. It's on delay, so they're getting the comments back. I think they're getting the comments back there. It seems like so.
Gotcha.
Mark, now they're all surprised. Oh yeah, the Lambo, right? So
Okay.
you have the Lambo, you have a Gallardo, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So why did you buy a Lambo? What's that process like? Why did you choose the Lambo? Let's start from the beginning.
Yeah. So basically, I was just talking with a friend of mine about expensive like car purchases and stuff like that, and he mentioned that cars go through a lot of depreciation the first few years, and after that, especially with like the very nice cars, they don't really lose that much value. And I was just like looking at this, and at first I didn't really believe him, but he was just showing me examples where like Lamborghinis and Ferraris would just lose 5 or 10K a year in depreciation after the first few years. I just thought that was absolutely crazy. So I told myself the next time I win, like I have a big score in a tournament, I'm gonna treat myself and buy a nice car. I've always thought it would be cool to have an Italian sports car, and the main reason was I just don't want to burn a ton of money, but realize that it won't burn a ton of money. So yeah, I think I did well in the Epic Poker League event 4 years ago, and that was kind of right in the early September, and there's snow here for a lot of the year. So I decided over the winter I was going to do some research, figure out what I wanted to get, and then early spring buy a car.
So okay, I was in Vancouver, and I was looking. I think this was what year? When did you buy your car?
I guess I would have bought it summer 2012 or summer 2011. One of the two, either summer 2011 or summer 2012. I think summer 2012.
I think it was right after I was looking at a car because I was in Vancouver and I couldn't decide. I was debating between a Gallardo or a Ferrari. Were you ever thinking about getting a Ferrari?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I didn't get the Gallardo, I would have gotten an F430. Yes, those were basically that would have been like the second my second choice, I guess. And I just thought, I mean, I'm not a huge car guy. I just thought Gallardo looks cooler, I knew of a few people in my town with Ferraris, and at the time didn't really know of anyone in my town with Lambos, so I just decided, all right, let's go Lambo.
I'm curious. I was trying to see what you thought because I kept going back and forth. I was like, well, Lambo looks cool, but Ferrari I think has a little bit more prestige. Like I was thinking about all these like things that probably don't matter too much, and I put way too much thought into it. And I was like, and then I stressed myself out, and then I was like, well, I live in Canada right now. I better not buy a car in Canada. But I did. Did you test drive the car before you got it?
No, I actually didn't. So basically, like my car is manual transmission. And I was bad at driving manual, so like when I was buying it from the guy, I just said, you know what, if I don't like when I went out taking a look at his car, I told him, hey, I'm mostly just looking for information at this point. I'm probably not going to buy your car. So I just went out, got a ride with him, and it was take the funnest roller coaster you've been on, multiply it by 5. We were just like out in the country, just absolutely ripping around. And by the end of it, I'm like, all right, I'm probably going to buy this car. But I didn't want to like fuck anything up when I'm learning to drive standard on his $250,000 car. So I just decided I bought it before I ever drove it. First time I drove it, I like stalled it in a pretty hilarious way, which is sort of funny. We basically there aren't a ton of nice cars in my town, and it was a nice summer day. We pull up next to this like 55-year-old guy in a Porsche Boxster. And he's there at a red light, and he's got like his arm out the window. He's got this like long hair flowing, and he's just like, the wind in his hair. He's just, smiling ear to ear. Looks over. I was, I guess 21, 22 at the time, and my buddy is the same age as me, but looks like he's 18 or something. Looks over, sees our car, sees us, and it's like something out of a movie. Just starts scowling immediately, and then just starts like gripping his steering wheel really aggressively and starts revving his engine and stuff. I've never had something like this happen since then, but this was just the first day I drive it, and my buddy's like, "You've got to beat this guy," and I'm like, "No fucking way!" Like I still drive the car pretty cautiously when I'm in the city. I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'm not racing this guy. And then so the light's still red. It's about to turn green, in a quarter of a second. He guns it. I stall it.
Oh my god.
I know. It was. I wasn't. It was a coincidence the stall happened to happen there. It was. My buddy still gives me shit for it. It was. It was bad.
Oh yeah. Sometimes when you're moving, and you're really trying to get it right off the line, you're like you can stall it out if you're trying to go really fast with it.
Yeah, and I wasn't even trying to. I had just driven. So I learned to drive standard on my sister's A4, but the clutch there is so easy, it's so forgiving. The clutch on my car is like stiff. Like if you do legs at the gym, you don't want to drive it. It's definitely it's probably 10 times as stiff as on hers. So it's definitely I think it's just tougher to drive. So even the guy who sold it to me said, after owning the car a year and a half, there will still be times where he'll stall. It's much easier to stall than most cars.
I think the thing you said about the lack of depreciation on those cars, that was kind of my thinking about it. I was like, well, if you have this car for a year, you need to sell it. You're not losing that much. I mean, let's say you pay $10,000 to have a supercar for a year. That seems like a pretty good trade-off for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would guess, the guy buying his, new Boxster versus me buying the 6-year-old Lambo, if we each hold them for 3 years, it'll probably cost him more money than it'll cost me. Even throwing in insurance, even throwing in using more gas, all repairs being more expensive. I would guess that it sums up to someone buying a new $50,000-$60,000 car will be more than buying a used car that's gone through a lot of the depreciation.
What years is the Lambo that you have? It's like that's like
06.
06, okay. Yeah, it's like it had that body stuff for a couple years. It's a yellow convertible. I have a. Can I show a picture of it from your Facebook here?
All right, sure.
All right, I'll put it up real quick just so people can get a little visual. This is the car here. This is the Timex the yellow Lambo with the yellow brake calipers.
Yeah.
Definitely a very a flashy car. I really like it. My friend MD Mark Daniels, he just brought up a good point.
What's that?
Did Timex play chess with the girl working at Lamborghini?
I actually bought it from an individual. I didn't buy it from a dealership. I just figured even in my irresponsible purchases, I want to be financially responsible here, and everything from a dealership seems to be about 10-15% more than individuals selling them, because the dealership's obviously making their cut. Like they'll buy for X, sell for 1.2X or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just bought it from a dude and didn't play chess with him.
Well, the reason he asked that is because I happened to play a couple month game of chess with one of the women that I met who worked at the dealership in Vancouver. So he was. Oh,
nice. That's good. It was a good long chess match.
It was a very engaging chess match. We actually crossed borders into international and American waters. I could see the chess match in Las Vegas for a couple period of time, but yeah, I wasn't quite ready for a prolonged chess match at that point in time in my life. So.
Fair enough. That's understandable.
Yeah. Wim says orange is by far the best color on a Lambo. Yeah, I was always stressing about color too. Was it just like you found this one and that's the one you got, or was it like would you want yellow? Like why yellow?
Yeah, I'd say so. Okay. I would, before I got it, I was thinking yellow or orange were the two colors I wanted the most, closely followed by black. I'm very glad I didn't get a black one. I think when you're getting a ridiculous car, you need to get a ridiculous color. And when I see someone in the silver or a grayish Lambo or a black Lambo or a white one, I feel like it's somewhat wasted. I think you've got to just go yellow, orange, or you see those cars from Dubai where it's bright green or bright purple or something, like some unique color style. I think you're being ridiculous. There's no sense in being getting something that's not too flashy.
Yeah, you got a silver Lamborghini. What the fuck are you thinking, right? If you're watching this, you got a silver Lamborghini. I don't even know what you're possibly doing with your life, or why you would do that, why you would think that.
Can you ban them from watching if anyone here happens to be an owner of a silver Lambo?
Guys, if someone has a silver Lambo in the chat, let me know so I can ban you right now.
So it sounds good.
Why would you? Yeah, I don't need the silver. I don't understand. Mulate says Timex should have bought the Ferrari from Deadmau5. Yeah, I know he sold that car, but Deadmau5 is like a big Canadian. Are you a fan of electronic music, dance music like that?
Not really. Like so I never really listened to electronic music by myself. When I was single and going out more, I would, kind of know what's going on just because I'd be at clubs pretty regularly, and as a result, hear that sort of music much more often. But now I'm pretty behind the times on the electronic music scene.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Carl Priest, what's up, Carl? He says, "What up, puppy? How many players have gotten their start from Mike's back?" Does that mean backing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess from backing me. I didn't. There are very few players who I really brought from small stakes through to the top or anything. I would say most people that I've started backing were already somewhat established. They were a high stakes reg who wanted to play live, or they were a high stakes player who DJ'd off their money, or their mom robbed them or something like that. So I didn't really bring many players from micros to high stakes or anything.
Okay. I think that's what he was referring to.
Yeah, it sounds about that way.
Marcus says, Joey, do a prep bet with Timex. I'm not sure what kind of prep bet we could do. You play No Limit. I haven't played No Limit in years. I only play Pot Limit Omaha. Do you play any PLO?
I think I have played PLO. I think I probably played about 100,000 hands in 2009 or something. But the last year I've probably averaged 1,000 hands a year the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, it's such a fun game, though, man. You get 4 cards. I tell you about PLO. Let me tell you about this game. Guys, let me tell you about the best game in the world, Pot Limit Omaha. You get 4 cards instead of 2. More combinations of hands to make. Yeah, we don't necessarily want you playing PLO Timex. You might not be the kind of PLO player we're looking for in our world, but we're looking for a bit more fun player. So, Arnie keeps asking about this. Ask about Steve Paul Ambrose letter.
Oh, so basically, when I was 16, I guess, I'd been playing poker for about year and a half kind of thing, and
what?
Then
16, a year and a half playing poker?
When I was 16, my dad had an online poker account.
That's what I thought.
For a year and a half, and then the one day, a friend of mine says, check the Waterloo newspaper, and we see that a guy from our hometown, or a guy who's a student in our hometown, won the PCA. And at first when he told me about it, someone won a PCA, I thought he meant someone from our hometown won a package to go play the PCA, and I thought that was cool. And then when I found out someone from our hometown won the whole PCA, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I found out so I was primarily a limit player back then, just playing small stakes limit. I found out he posted on 2+2 as well, and that he played predominantly limit, and I just sent him this big long, it's probably 2,000 words, this long message about why he should let me come watch him play, and I could pick his brain and stuff. And he read this, showed it to his girlfriend, and they're like, she's like, no way, that guy's probably gonna kill you. He sounds like a real creep. And then it was such a long email. And then he showed it to his roommate, and his roommate's someone from a really small town, the type of person who never locks his doors, trusts everyone. He's like, oh yeah, bring him by. He's it'll be hilarious to have a 16-year-old who's playing poker with us. So basically every Sunday I'd go over, watch them either playing Limit Hold'em or the Sunday tournaments or whatnot, and just ask them a million questions and stuff. And I did this for a few weeks. And then I started, bringing over my laptop, and I'd like set up this TV table between their two desks, ask them questions and stuff like that, and it really helped me. I think over my first year and a bit, I didn't really improve that much, and then pretty quickly I went from playing small stakes limit hold'em to playing like the highest stakes in, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. Like it was very, it was that like exponential growth of what I was talking about earlier, where I just like, just started doing so much better and like learning a lot more and having a lot more confidence in myself. I used to kind of, I'd be playing, I'd move up in stakes and then I'd lose 50 bets and then decide, oh, that stake's too tough, I'm never going to play it again. And then, wait until I'd won like 1,000 bets at the previous stakes, then try another shot, lose 50 bets, and be like, oh, I just suck. I had this because of running bad, and not even running very bad, just having very small downswings. I would convince myself higher stakes were so tough. And there was no real training sites or anything back then to go see what games actually looked like. But then when I would be playing 2-4 limit hold'em, watching them play like 75-150 limit hold'em or 30-60 or whatever it happened to be, I'd be like, oh, the fish in these games are doing the same thing as the fish in my games. There's not that much difference. And then kind of move through that quickly, and then we all sort of transitioned to more tournaments and less limit hold'em, and that I think that just having poker friends. Before that, I had 0 poker friends. I think that really helped.
Are you still friends with those guys too?
Yeah, I've actually was just talking to Steve yesterday. With Steve, I was like, we went from just being like random dudes sending him like a message to like, I think like 3 years later, I was in his wedding party, one of my best friends, and and then Aaron, the other guy. Still friends with him. I don't see him as much anymore. He kind of transitioned out of poker maybe 5 years ago, I guess. But yeah, it was pretty crazy that it went from just a big long embarrassing email to making 2 really good friends.
That's pretty cool. That's like that's something not many people would do. They'd be like shy or too scared or nervous or something like that. Especially at a young age, they wouldn't be like, well, I'm gonna try to message this guy and see what's going on. That's
Yeah, and I also, there was something like I think everyone who comes from online poker has this idea that they think everyone sucks kind of. Even before messaging him, I read over his post to make sure he was legit. Like I didn't want some just shitty field player or whatnot. But like when I saw that he was regularly making what seemed to me like good posts, I just decided, hey, like this guy could probably teach me a lot, and I thought it was very unlikely that he would respond, which I stated time and time and time again in my message.
right.
I was just so fortunate. It was it just worked out great. Probably I think if I never met them, I would have done well at poker, but I think it would have been done well in the sense that maybe pay off university and then get a real job kind of thing. I don't think I ever would have really been a high stakes rank, especially because I think there was some pressure from my parents to like take school seriously, and I think I probably would have taken it more seriously if I didn't like have that much money kind of thing. Like as it was when I went into first year university, I was mostly focused on poker, and I think that if I was just playing 3-6 limit hold'em and making not much more than I could at a co-op job, I probably would care more about school and more about getting a job and less about, I guess, getting through it.
So you think probably do you think that it's still that important or really important for a player who's up and coming to kind of have a group of friends they can learn from or bounce ideas off of or ask questions or discuss topics with? Because you just said that you feel like that was a big thing that made you, or that kind of led you to have that success. Do you think that's still an important thing? Is that something you'd recommend to people out there?
Absolutely. I think it's really tough to be self-aware enough to recognize all your own mistakes. I think it's much easier to look at someone else's game, pick it apart, and then say like either how to exploit them, or if it's your friend, how to change it up so that you're not getting exploited. I think it's much tougher, at least for me, to do that for yourself. So yeah, I always kind of felt that I'm better at providing advice than I am at playing the game. When I would be talking with hands with friends, I would feel like the decisions I could make, for telling them what to do was better than the decisions I would make myself. I mean, I think it's marginal, but I think that when you're in game, I think it's easier to be completely rational and completely objective in your analysis than in your play.
Well, I guess if you guys are out there right now listening, and you don't have that type of, I guess you kind of ran good in a way that the guy happened to live in your town. What would you recommend to someone who might not necessarily have that person who lives close by? Is it just, I had someone close by. I had a couple friends. That's how I feel like I got started to get good. I guess you'd recommend people befriend people in Skype groups or in their sub forums, whether they play small stakes or micro stakes or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would say like looking at Pratt's story, like after you talk to him, it really seems pretty good. Like if you do a lot of, essentially what he's done is contacted me for coaching. We became good friends. He learned a lot through me and has gotten in touch with other people for coaching. I think a lot of people don't want to pay much for poker coaching, but I think that most of the top players who are actually beating the games that they're coaching for, not just going on a downswing and coaching instead of playing, really want the best for the people they're talking to. And I think that's sort of an easy way to get into the friend circles of people who otherwise might just big time you. Like I have more pending friend requests on Facebook than I have friends, and I'm not really looking to make more poker friends. It's not really something I actively pursue, but became really good friends with Pratt just through almost like a forced interaction, I suppose. And I think that we became really close friends. I think that if you're playing smaller stakes, there's probably something to be said like talking to other rigs at the table or through 2+2, or maybe joining a training site. I would imagine is decent. Through the forum on a training site, getting into a study group or something like that, I would guess is probably pretty good. I think it would be important to kind of do the research. Figure out which people are actually winning at the games. If someone posts a graph and they're winning at a high win rate for 1 million hands or something, they're probably pretty good. I think that a lot of people do more harm than good by making poker friends who suck at poker. And I think getting in touch with, trying to find the most systematic way you can of getting in touch with good poker players is probably the best way to do it.
I have a follow-up to that, but I really have to go to the bathroom. I don't want my pee bottle. I usually use my pee bottle if I'm playing poker, but during a live podcast, can't do it. So I'm going to give you a question to answer in the chat from people.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to run to the bathroom.
All right, sounds good.
One of those guys who likes pee bottles. You need to maximize your EV while you're playing a lot of games.
I've never used a pee bottle in my life.
Come on, man, you got it under. Yeah. You get a Lambo, but no drugs and no pee bottles. That kind of seems backwards to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Frontwards. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have no idea.
You really should try it though. It's fun. I mean, you got that big jug. Oh, let me look at this jug. Hold on, look at that jug real quick. Oh my God, that's like the mecca. Oh, like a super GT.
This thing is the best. I mean, it probably leads you to need more pee bottles, I guess, but it's the best cup for grinding online.
All right, let's answer this question from Amit. How long would it? Let's not answer that question. I'm looking for one of the good questions. Now people want your address so they can send you letters.
Creepy.
No, not creepy at all. They want to send you a letter. Oh yeah, this thing. Okay. Someone posted a link in the 2+2 thread. I recently checked my other inbox, and a guy from Ireland invited me to come visit him for gay sex. What the hell? Can you talk more about this Irish person who messaged you to come to Ireland for gay sex?
Yeah. So I mean, I get a lot of people aren't aware of this, but on Facebook you have your other inbox, which is random people spamming you like Nigerian princes and stuff like that, and I get a lot of people messaging me for staking or coaching or wanting me to befriend them or give money to like their kids or whatever it happens to be. And the most absurd one I've gotten is that, like, shortly after PCA, this guy messaged me and he says, hey, I don't really watch poker, but I happen to be watching TV and saw you playing poker, and I was thinking if you're ever in Ireland, like I'd like to like hook up with you, and he was talking about how I should like come to Ireland and have sex with him. And obviously on Facebook you get a red receipt when when someone reads your message and then doesn't respond to it. So I didn't respond to it, and then he sent this big long message about he didn't really consider the possibility that perhaps I'm not interested in gay sex. Instead, he assumed that I think he might be a gold digger who's only interested in me for my money and not for his personality. So he basically he sent this big long message about how he's not interested in me for my money. He's actually a good person. He actually runs his family business. He said he could give me more information about how the business is doing, and explained how he's an entrepreneurial successful person who's just interested in me for sex, not for money.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, that might be like probably number one. Like I'd say the weird cat was the top 5 strange messages I've gotten. This was probably number 1.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty good point by him to make. Maybe he thought you might have been in. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are only into some people for money. They like a guy more because he's got money. This guy was wanting to make it clear he's not like that. I appreciate that by him.
Yeah, exactly. I was pretty flattered,
Yeah, I would be too. I'm usually flattered if you have a guy that hits on you or something like that. I mean, some people are like, "What do you think? What are you doing?" But I mean,
and I know now that he likes me for me, not for my financial status. So if I do ever decide to go that way, like I'll just check out the Facebook other message box, maybe shoot him a little message. Yeah, I've got that option open.
And also, if you ever want to feel good about yourself, you just start talking to him, have him tell you what you like about me. Like, what do you like? What are you into exactly? Like, what turns you on the most? Like, what makes you the most excited? And that way, you can get a little confidence boost that day if you ever need it.
Yeah, like if I go on a downswing, brick a few live tournaments. Maybe if I lose this Zoom bet and I'm really feeling bad, I'll just hit him up and maybe ask him to write me a poem or something, something like that. Like really, something to feel cared for.
So you didn't go to Ireland, that's what you're saying?
No, I didn't go to Ireland.
Okay. If you went to Ireland, there's nothing wrong with going on. It's fine. If you go to
if I went to Ireland, I would 1, definitely share the story, and 2, I presume it would be an interesting story. Like if that was something I did, it would probably make for a pretty entertaining story.
Irish guy grinding, that's a new thing. Someone in the chat earlier mentioned, did we talk about ginger girl grinding GTO? I haven't ran many sims on that, unfortunately, but do you have any, you ran some sims on ginger girl grinding? GGG?
Yeah, I've never done the GGG GTO, or I'm pretty sure 0 data points there.
Yeah, I wish we could give you some more advice on that, guys. We don't have any advice on that. One big thing we want to talk about, and we can talk a little about it, is Bank of Timex. So Bank of Timex was this popular thing that you started up a very, very short period of time before you realized I better not do that anymore. Bank of Timex, you explain it. You can explain it better than me.
Yeah. So basically, I've always been a little annoyed by the markups that people charge in the 2+2 marketplace, or even to their friends, Facebook, whatever it happens to be. And there's, through 2+2, if you ever come in saying like this person's not that good, people are quick to like yell at you and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the one day I was just kind of pissed off by this and decided, you know what, I'm gonna make a Twitter account called the Bank of Timex, and I'm gonna troll people's marketplace threads. And if people want to buy action through me, they can. And it was like I could not believe how viral this went. Within like 24 hours, I had like 1,500 followers. I had so many people messaging me looking to like buy action in tournaments and stuff like that of players that they thought were better than I thought were. It was like I basically sat at my computer and like couldn't respond to people as quick as they were messaging me. It was absolutely insane. So I did this. People were commenting on whether they think things are a good investment or not. Everyone was sending me what they thought were the worst threads so I could provide my comments on. People were just kind of asking me about this, and it really sort of took off. And then I ended up booking some bets here, like like shorting players in tournaments, saying they're selling at 1.4 markup, I'll sell them at 1.3 kind of thing. And I think my reputation in poker is strong enough that a lot of people would almost rather buy action of a random player through me than through them, because the other person could screw them over, could sell over 100%, could do all sorts of stuff, could be slow pay them or whatnot, but they feel that I would be more trustworthy. So some people would almost rather buy through me at the same markup than through the person actually selling. And so it was crazy how interested people were. I'm like, wow, I'm just going to make so much money off this. I'll never play another hand of poker again. I'll just sit at my computer accepting these bets. And then I got contacted by someone who, they told me about the gambling legality, and essentially said that what I'm doing is the same thing as being a bookie. Like I'm just I'm setting lines. I'm accepting bets. Especially with Americans, this is like hugely illegal. Like this was not too long after there was that big sort of scandal in the States where a bunch of poker players got arrested and stuff for that like New York bookmaking or whatever, and basically said it's just even though it's a really smart idea, it's just not really a legal idea, so I had to discontinue it.
I bet that was disappointing to you. It sounded like you were probably having fun with it at the time.
Yeah, I mean it's for sure an emotional rush. The idea, when you play tournaments, most of the times you're disappointed, but sometimes you're really, really happy. With this, usually you're happy, but sometimes you're really, really disappointed. It's sort of the opposite of playing tournaments.
I guess the markup thing's interesting. It's like if people are willing to pay it, why wouldn't people charge it?
Yeah, and it's sort of the same as something like Bitcoin or whatnot. The market can only really trend in one direction when there's no way to really bet against the market. So it kind of prevents it from being priced the way it should be, I suppose. So with markups, it's not like you lose anything by charging higher markup, and all you need is one person to believe it's a good investment. So it's not as if things can really decrease. So I think that on average markups, especially a year or two ago, were just completely out of control. I still think they're higher than they should be, and probably 90% of things people invest in are long-term losing plays. But I think that it was. I think the market has corrected itself a little bit, but I still think, most things you see. Like if I were giving people advice, it would be just don't buy stuff in the 2+2 marketplace or anything similar to that.
What do you think about the people that sell for markup in the super high roller tournaments, the 50K, 25K pluses?
I mean, I'm one of those people, and I think it's sweet that it exists. It's almost if I say the 250K I just played, I sold something like 80% of my action or something like that at 4% markup. So I'm just getting paid something like $7,000 to play a poker tournament, like $7,000 in just like a salary almost to get to play for me a $30,000 poker tournament that I believe I have a substantial edge in. It's a pretty sweet situation. I think right now the super high rollers the buyers are a little more savvy than in smaller tournaments, because you can really buy pieces of the best players. There's almost no one who's playing these that has the bankroll for them. So like everyone's selling. The buyers are just a little smarter. I think the biggest thing is with a lot of the like mid-stakes tournaments, people have this idea that everyone who plays tournaments seriously can win in them. So, they'll take say a $3,000 live tournament, and people are like, "Oh, live's so soft," but they sort of forget that the biggest winners are usually not going to be selling for these things, because if you've been playing poker for a long time, and you probably can play a $3,000 tournament if you're one of the best players in the world. There are obviously big downswings do happen, but most of the best players at this point, if you've been playing for 5-10 years, probably have a fair bit of money. So in those tournaments, while there may be big win rates possible, if it's a 500-player tournament, you're buying action on the 150th best player or something. It's not like he's going to be crushing that field. So much of the value, then you need to factor in rake, you need to factor in all these things. So I think a lot of the worst investments come from people who are professional players, but who, either, they don't have a ton of live experience, and also like what we were talking about earlier, where when the stakes get too high, they're just, if they're at the same table as, Phil Ivey or something like that. Like, their fundamentals might be better than Phil Ivey's. If they were to play an online tournament, they might not have, that much smaller of an edge or something. But it's just so much more likely that when they're playing for the highest stakes game they've ever played in, they're going to be inconsistent with things. They're going to be, not as like logical as they should be. And I think that, I think that especially in these big live tournaments, a lot of people who may be like winners at mid-stakes online, even though they're competent professional poker players, just it's not the biggest winners selling for the stuff. It's not that high.
So you saying for those people, those specific people selling for like a 10K live sort of thing?
Yeah, I think those are on average the worst. Like, I think in these super high rollers, there's just no one who's rolled to play them. And the buyers on average know this, so I think that super high roller investments on average to not being that bad, just because people need to sell for them. I think that, and even the top players do. I do think if you do the breakdown of what everyone's ROI is in tournaments, I think so often a good chunk of it is taken by the top 5-10% of players, etc. Maybe top 20 or whatever it happens to be. That buying someone who's going to be, they might be the third best player at their starting table, but if they make the final table, they'll be the sixth best player. They'll be making money early on, but likely losing when the stakes are highest. It doesn't work out that well long term, I don't think.
So do you find that, is it standard for everybody to sell at markup in something like a super high roller, like the 250K, for example, that you talked about? Is it normal for everyone to sell at some markup there?
I think that, so I mean, like if I were to go through the pieces that I bought for recent 100Ks, most of them were at face value. Some were at a few % markup. I would guess if you were to take all the professionals in an average super high roller and see what they sold for, I'd say it would probably average to about 1.04 or something along those lines. It really depends tournament to tournament, but yeah, definitely, it's. You really need a lot of non-professionals in there, especially when you factor in a couple % rake to be beating them. So yeah, I think that, and I think there are some circles of friends who decide, hey, we think like markup's stupid, we're just going to completely abandon this. And I think there might be more of that in the future, especially if the biggest buyers decide they really just want to work with players who don't charge markup. It's tough to say exactly where it will trend, but I think few years ago, I've heard stories about players selling at 1.3 markup to 100K, and there was a time when people would pay this, but I think now, they're not. And now there's been, Australia really felt like a big sort of ego battle between the various like crews of super high roller players, and where crew A thinks crew B sucks, who thinks crew C sucks, who thinks crew A sucks, or something. Where basically, and now it's getting to the point where some of the people have been contacting investors saying, hey, these guys who sell for some of the highest markups, rather than buying through them, buy through us, because we don't even think they're winners in the tournament. We'll undercut their markup. So there are people who are kind of wanting to put their money where their mouth is, and basically Bank of Timex players. It really seems like everything is pointing in the direction of markups trending downwards, which I think is good for the poker economy. Probably bad for me overall, since right now I'm selling for these tournaments at markup, and that's sweet, but I think long term there will probably be enough good players in them that it just won't stay huge for long.
So this was the 250K. There's crews of people that's something that is being discussed then.
Yeah, basically, I mean, in the 250, or basically in the Australian tournaments in general, there were more people cross-booking against each other, upping the stakes. There was, it seems like almost high schoolish drama going on between the different groups of people. I think it's partly just, there were a few tournaments there. The 25K, the 100, and the 250 are almost the same lineups of players, but just escalating stakes as the week went on, or the month went on. It just seemed like there was much more of a dog eat dog kind of combative nature to it.
I wonder if my friend's WCG writer might be in one of these crews that might have some choice words to say about certain other people.
I mean, it's
Wonder.
well, yeah, yeah. I think WCG's group of friends played a pretty big role in that.
WCG, J-Mo. Who else was in this one? Ryan. I think who else is in their little crew here? Let's see.
Yeah,
So
I
what,
think-
what they got? The American crew like King Dan, Scott Seaver. I'm just looking at the names that are in this one. There's a German crew, obviously. All these the German guys.
Yeah, I'd say those are. I mean, when I said crew A, B, and C, those are basically the three crews I'm talking about. Like, there's sort of like an American/Canadian one. There's a team WCG rider, and then there's Team Germany, basically. I mean, and then there are obviously, some like lone wolves in there. Like I would say, Richard Young doesn't really identify with the crew, or Paul Newey, or Phil Ivey, I guess. But definitely, it seems as if the majority of regs in these big buy-in tournaments kind of stick to this, my group of friends is better than all these guys. We're going to beat all these guys. And I think that, I think Team WCG being so combative in nature has kind of brought out the, competition in other people to where, the vibe in Australia felt very different than at previous big buy-in tournaments I played.
Vibe is in how so? More competitive or less friendly?
Basically, just less friendly, I guess. Just people just sort of starting arguments for no reason. Like I just think in like I've always, when I tell people about poker, I always say it's interesting how I can go play poker against one of my best friends at the table, like win or lose pots worth 5-6 figures to them, and then we'll go out to dinner afterwards as if nothing happened. But now it sort of feels as if things have been getting more personal. I think it partly comes down to there being maybe more professionals in these super high rollers than can be supported, and I think that people are it's just much more like if everyone's selling at big markup and stuff like that, it's kind of like a profitable endeavor for everyone, but especially when Team WCG doesn't, their friend, they just sell to their friends. They're not going to nickel and dime their friends or anything like that. They just all sell to each other at face, it seems, to my knowledge. They kind of don't like that other people are doing that, especially if they think they're better. And Pratt and I were talking about this. We just want everyone to get along, have fun, try to play poker the best they can, not be in such big ego battles, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think about this happening in the what do other people? What's the other vibe? Are they liked? Are they not liked? I mean, I guess they say they only care about getting the money. They don't necessarily care about making friends or being well liked or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not as if everyone is like they're all individuals. It's if you like one of them, if you like one of them, you like all of them. I think some of the people in their group of friends are well liked, some of them aren't, kind of thing.
Who else is in there? I might have lagged there a bit. Who else was in their group of friends out there? Like Big Dick Dong or Kim, WCG, Fees.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's a few other guys that
Jay Lama.
Yeah. I think that's everyone. Maybe a few others, but I think that's sort of the core guys.
Yeah, I know most of those guys. Obviously, I like the guys. They're cool, but I've known them for years. So yeah, they weren't always the same way that they are now, I suppose. So it's I think it's fun. I think it's cool. Obviously, without that, this Heads Up No Limit Challenge, which I saw you posted in there. So there's I'm gonna do a preview episode. I'm gonna have Nick on TC, and I'm gonna have Big Dick Donger on. We're gonna talk about their little challenge. You've said that you wanted to bet on the challenge. I saw.
Yeah, I mean, I have some action on Dong, and when these challenges go on, I think it's fun to sweat them. I had money on Jungle during the Jungle Dirt Challenge, and really enjoyed watching the sessions that happened. It sort of sucks that I think I made a 10K bet. My equity is probably like 9.8K and I'll never get paid right now. So it's I mean maybe if somehow that challenge finishes, then I'll get paid, but I don't think it's ever going to finish. I think it's sort of crappy overall. I think that this is going to be a lot more efficient and finish more smoothly, I guess. So yeah, I think that I think when these things go on, especially when it involves someone that it's sweet to have money on it, and especially in this one, it's not as if everyone's betting it 1-to-1. They seem to the market seems to suggest it's plus 130 or something like that. Like it definitely means you can take a side without really feeling like you're getting screwed if you wait for the market to correct. You might guess right, you might guess wrong, but if you just bet on it, it's going to make it more exciting.
Is there any specific reason you thought Big Dick Donger was going to take this down?
I mean, he just seems like a humble guy and seemed pretty confident in himself, but that's I'm way too bad at Heads Up No Limit to really have an informed opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna be the challenge thread, Jordan. That's in NVG and 2+2. It's in you can or it says between Nick Frame and Donger Kim. You can find that in there. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, I don't know much about No Limit these days. I don't watch much No Limit. It's find it extremely boring for the most part. But I'm still gonna be I'm gonna live stream some of the action because I think it'll be fun to follow, and I think it'll be cool. I'm rooting for TC because I'm partial to TC. He's a friend of mine. I like talking to him, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It'll be a dent in the evil empire if they can't pull this out. So.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any action on it or no?
I'm waiting to get action on TC at 1.5. So I think it'll come up. I think it'll end up getting to 1. Actually, it won't get to 1.5. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was looking for Dong at 1.25, but I think that we're probably, but not in the same ballpark there.
Yeah, I think we're past that point. I think it's everyone instantly was a bunch of bigger names wanted to buy Dong right away, so it kind of people were I think they're more hesitant to want to bet on TC just for that reason.
Yeah, I think there's something to be simply. I just said I want to bet just because I don't know. Dong thought he's gonna win. Basically, it's not really any I'm not smart money or anything like that in this situation, but I feel like I have a reputation for being smart money. Mm-hmm. So I think that I could be one of the people that helped shift the line somewhat when really, because I was came into the thread saying that I'm just guessing basically, and just want to have something to sweat here, and I think that having my reputation, I think probably killed some action, but because a bunch of people in a row posted wanting Dong action. That's what moved the line about 10 points or something.
Yeah, I think what happens anytime you have a bigger name or a popular name, someone who's got some credibility behind them, and they come in wanting to bet someone, that automatically kind of moves the trend, and that's sort of what happened. Basically, there's a couple big names that came in there right back to back, like you said, and then people were yeah. I mean, I'll bet a lot at 1.5 if somebody wants to bet. I'll bet over 5 figures if somebody wants to bet at 1.5 with me. You can get in touch.
Yeah. I wouldn't do 1.5 over this few hands, but I think it's possible the line gets there. I think the line's probably going to stay around 1.3, 1.35 kind of thing.
Well, I think they're starting tomorrow night, so that means I have to make sure I get the preview podcast done. What I'm going to do for that? So the Yarny prop bet was a PLO prop bet. Did you hear about that at all?
Yeah, I think Ike told me about it.
Oh yeah, because Ike bet $200,000 or something like that. He bet some ridiculous total, and of course he won because he's Hollywood Hexton. So. Yeah.
What did you think about that bet? Who did you think was had the best of it?
I think at the time I thought that Yarny was would do some type of degen thing and would end up losing it. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what happened for the most part. His closeout game strategy wasn't necessarily smart. He was just kind of running and gunning for the most part, and he still ended up winning money because he won money at 25.50. But he definitely had a chance to win it, but unfortunately he really fucked up the last couple of days. So.
Yeah.
But it was really fun to rail. I did a lot of live streams for that during it, and I think the people really enjoyed like coming on every day. They'd play while they listened to the live stream and watch the action. So it was a pretty sweet idea. We'd have guests on all the time and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty like, I don't know, sick ambitious goal. Like it's impressive. Like there was a time when he was like pretty well on pace for it, right?
Yeah, a couple times. I mean, he was on pace, and then I think he lost like 80 buy-ins the next day, and then he like won it back the next day, and it was just his strategy like wasn't a good strategy. It was just like I'm gonna rely on my heart and soul instead of putting a little bit of, I guess, logic into the game plan. And he almost won it. That just shows you kind of how good he is. So
yeah,
he's I like Yarny, man. He's just. That's the thing about PLO is like you can be like a Yarny guy. I can't imagine Yarny does much work away from the table at all. I can't imagine he's running numbers. He just plays, and that's what you find in PLO is there's a lot of people who just play. There's no GTO thinking in them. They just sit down and get to work.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm playing the wrong game.
Well, if you like to work on, I guess that's true.
I mean, I guess it's the same. I guess live tournaments are probably that way even more. Like, I doubt that, Phil Ivy's doing a whole lot of, like card runners EV stuff or whatnot. Yeah, I would guess that, live tournaments might be even more strategically simple than PLO.
Actually, that's a good point. Like, there's probably not many people. There's some people that just have success that don't necessarily do anything. They might just discuss poker with friends and think about poker 24 hours a day. They might not actually do anything else besides that.
Yeah, and I mean that's sort of what I've been like recently, and that's what I'm trying to change in the near future. Because I'm a pretty competitive person. I don't like the idea of one time, just being like a mediocre reg or whatnot. I want to try to stay competitive, and I think that, as I was saying earlier, I think relative to some of the fields I'm playing in, the average person's improving quicker than I am, especially amongst a lot of the recreational players. Like the guys who, the recreational guys in these 100Ks are getting better consistently, and no one stays bad for that long, kind of thing. So I just want to, I want to work harder for the next bit and try to improve my game.
You don't usually find that people who once were at that top, having a lot of success, they never actually move down. They just quit for the most part. They either try to get better or they quit. They never come back down to go back up, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think it's tough on the ego to move down. Once your brain is used to something, it's hard to swallow your pride and go play small stakes, kind of thing.
Yeah, there's one person specifically I know that did that at Parliament Omaha, which is Ansky, Donnie Stern. He did that, and now he's back up playing the high stakes that's running when he's playing on Stars at PLO. So he's really the only person that really comes to mind notable that was playing nosebleeds, dropped back down, kind of refocused, put in the work again, and then grinded their way back up.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah, they just quit.
It's pretty inspiring to see that. I think it's that. I mean, a lot of people don't really exercise proper bankroll management, and when they downswing, they don't want to, you lose 50 buy-ins at one stake. You don't want to go play a fifth of stakes where you need to win, 250 buy-ins or something. They want to double the stakes and only have to win 25. And I think that's why, I think a combination of people maybe don't literally go broke, but lose the money that they're comfortable losing at poker and then decide, oh, fuck this. And a lot of them, it's probably literally going broke.
Yeah, I think the ability to is probably one of the most underrated things in terms of cash games. I'm not sure how much it carries over to PLO, but I think it's a really underrated ability to kind of lose that big amount of buy-ins at a higher stake, at like a 2550 or 5100, and drop down. Like instead of waiting till you hit 75 buy-ins down, and then so instead of you playing 2550, now you have to make that back at 3-6, and it just takes you longer to get back up to 2550. So I think the ability to recognize right away, all right, I'm gonna stop and move back down. I'm gonna regain confidence. I'm gonna play my A game, start running well, is something that I don't think people think about enough, and probably one of the most. It's a very important thing I think at high stakes cash games. And how much do you think that plays a part in tournaments? Because tournaments, you're selling action, you're staking, and stuff like that. So I'm not sure how much.
In tournaments, I have so much respect for the guys who move back down. Like, most people just end up, they just keep playing the biggest stuff, having smaller and smaller percents, getting deeper in makeup. Like, there's so much, makeup related staking rather than just selling pieces that a lot of people just sort of get buried, and then your 200K in makeup, even if your best EV situation is to be playing $30 average buy-in online. Well, if you lost 200K playing live, you don't want to go grind like Thursday afternoon tournaments. You want to just keep playing live. So a lot of people, like so many people when they're asking me questions about poker, they're like, "How could I find a backer?" And I just tell everyone, just do it yourself. Like maybe sell pieces for the occasional big tournament, but like getting buried in makeup, especially when you have living expenses and stuff like that, it's a dangerous situation to be in.
How do those guys get themselves out of that? That seems like one of the worst places to possibly be as a poker player in terms of your confidence level, your mindset. Like what?
I mean, I know situations where backers tell their horses like, hey, like if you hit like these goals and stuff, I'll give you money for expenses, which then goes to your makeup. Say you spend 20K a year. The idea is you're 200K in makeup. You think you can make 100K a year on average or something. They kind of say, hey, like I'm going to like pay for your living expenses because you're not going to make any money, and you've just got to like grind out. Hopefully go on your own in a couple of years or something. Or if you bank something, but it's pretty like bad that now on top of your poker downswings you have your real life money getting and then it would, like, if you're getting 50%, it would get put on your makeup at double makeup because obviously that's just how it would work out. Like if you let's say you're 200K in makeup, if you made 220K, if you're getting 50%, you would only get 10K of that. So really the equivalent would be being 200K if you get given 20K would be to be 240K in makeup because you need to make 40,000 beyond your makeup to actually get 20K yourself.
That sounds incredibly demoralizing as a poker player.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of tournament players like would quit rather than. I think now there are less people getting in the long term actually mixing live and online because this is better than online. That it's just not feasible in a lot of situations.
So are people kind of going to the selling for single events rather than putting in these like long-term deals? I guess it's probably easier to just be with one backer for a while. It just makes it easier. You don't have to sell action, you don't have to collect the money and stuff like that. But do you find that it might be smarter to just do for live high stakes, just sell for single events?
Yeah, I think people should just sell for individual tournaments or individual days. Like I think if you look through the 2+2 marketplace, there's selling at 1.2 markup across their whole schedule, and people are paying it. I think that's the ideal situation, is just trick people into paying more than you're worth. But if we assume markets were like efficient, then I think the right idea is just play the tournaments that you are rolled for, because a $20 tournament is going to be softer than having 20% of a $100 tournament or whatnot. Play the tournaments that you're rolled for. If something comes up that's very soft, that's higher stakes than you're used to, sell for that individual tournament. But yeah, right now I think the markets still aren't efficient. So I think probably most mid-stakes tournament players or high-stakes online tournament players with a good reputation should just be selling their action and, taking advantage of the market being bad.
So how does this work for 10Ks then? Because I assume people are selling most of their action or staked. If you're trying to play on most of your action, you can't really do that live, it sounds like.
So what? I'm not sure what your question is.
Okay, so you said if you're playing online, just play tournaments you can afford all your own action. But whereas at live, that doesn't seem possible. It seems like you kind of have to sell action if you want to keep playing so many 10Ks.
Oh, yeah, I guess my answer there is, and this is again a demoralizing answer, I think for a lot of people, live tournaments are just sort of like a pipe dream. I think there was a time when they were so soft that they were the best thing to be doing. But I think, right now in most tournaments there are a bunch of good pros and stuff like that, such that unless you're really going to commit, years and years to playing tons and tons of live tournaments, it's likely that you're just going to win more by playing online, especially when the biggest live tournaments are going on. You take out the 100 best regs from the online player pools, and now you can kind of bump up in stakes and play tougher games that you wouldn't normally, because all the best players aren't playing when PCA is going on or something. So I think a lot of people, the way they got into poker because they were inspired by seeing someone win $1 million in a tournament, but that doesn't mean that giving yourself an opportunity to win $1 million in a day is the right mentality. I think that, like when I was saying how I started playing live tournaments, first of all, I think they were softer back then. Second of all, I'd already kind of had a bankroll where I didn't need to sell that much action. If you're keeping 20, 40% of yourself, but paying 100% of the expenses, it just doesn't, and especially most likely if you're just breaking into live tournaments, you're not going to be the best live player. I think that unless you're planning on playing hundreds of live tournaments over the next few years, like I just think most people in live tournaments would be better off learning a game that they're more consistent at.
Well, I don't think many live tournament players are going to be happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. It's easy. So the other thing that I think goes on in these live tournaments is you get biased by the success stories. Like there's such a survivorship bias where the people who live tournaments hurt their bankrolls stop playing them. So then the data that are remaining are just the people that have run reasonable year after year, or even just the people, even if not long term. You have a few friends who take a few shots at tournaments. The ones who have big scores will continue in them. So if you look around at a group of people in the live tournament circuit, it'll look like everyone's made a ton of money, when really the guys who haven't have just gone back to grinding online, when they might have made a few $100,000 more if they never took these shots again and again. So yeah, I just think that I think that it's just tough to break into being a big winner in the live tournaments.
Never thought about that. That's really interesting. That you look around, you only see the success stories because the people who they're not playing anymore. The people that you would see and look at them and be like, oh, look at that guy, I could end up like him. Well, that guy's not playing anymore. In 2015, he's kind of busto now, and he can't get staked or backed anymore or sell action. So.
Yeah, and then the other thing that goes on is a lot of people, once they've made it, like let's say you take a look at the $250,000 tournament. Like everyone has less money than people think. Like I would guess if you were to go through that field, so I think there were 20 or maybe 18 or 20 professional poker players. If you were to say how many of them have a bankroll that's less than one buy-in to the tournament, it's probably a handful. It might be more.
Hold on. All right, wait. I got the list right here. Let's speculate. We like speculating here. Let's start at the bottom. Tobias Rankenmeyer.
I don't want to speculate on this. I don't want not him specifically, but the list in general. I don't really.
I'm going to speculate. I like speculating the most. All right, Tobias Rankenmeyer. I don't know him. I'm going to only people I know. Ryan Fee. I would speculate he probably has more than one buy-in for that. Pratouche. I'd speculate Pratouche has more than one buy-in too. I wonder who the people I'd say have less than one buy-in for this. Yeah, you're right. I don't want to speculate that. That sounds mean. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting though. How many did you say?
I would guess a handful. I would say it's because a lot of times, especially with markup, there are just people who can sell at 5% markup, pay 3% of the buy-in, and get 8% of their action or something like that. I think this happens. People would think.
It's interesting. I never really thought about that.
So yeah, I think, and then once you're in that situation, it's likely you're just going to keep grinding, and then it also sort of desensitizes you to how much of a shot you're taking. So if you're taking 8% of yourself into 250K, even if your bankroll's say 250K as well, you don't want to go selling for 5Ks, but you should be selling for 5Ks in that situation as well. So I think these high stakes tournaments are real. Like there will be a few people who make a shitload of money because you're kind of surrounded by people who are using poor bankroll management. So when everyone's kind of using poor bankroll management, it kind of leads to this thing where a few people are going to get a shitload of money and be really rich. Last year Dan Coleman. Dan Coleman probably made like all the money last year. I don't really want to like speculate because I have a rough idea of how much he banked from the year. But like he did so well, but like the majority of people probably have not that great of years in these big buy-in tournaments because they're just pressing their actions so hard.
Definitely something to think about. Mulatto says speculating on people who don't have 250K is mean. I'll just be rolling my eyes or whatever. I was kidding. Mean wasn't the word I was looking for. And who's Roger Teska? I've never heard of this person actually.
So Roger Teska was the chip leader in the PCA main for a little while. He's primarily like a cash game player from I think LA, and he told me he had some poker friends wanting to go fishing all week while they played the poker tournament, but the weather was so bad that he ended up playing the tournament and was just kind of pissed off about this. So he just got wasted every day, and like this is full blown like alcoholic wasted, not like me going out having 7 drinks and being drunk. This is like 30 drinks a day or something. Like it was crazy how drunk he got. But he ran up the chip lead. Like he was probably chip leader for a day or two, and what made it to the he ended up coming maybe 15th or so. But of course the TV table put him on because that makes for good television. Someone being this drunk, and it just made for a really kind of entertaining game. The fact that I think he's got to be an alcoholic, so he's probably fairly used to playing high stakes poker when drunk. And some people weren't really reacting that well to this. He obviously wasn't playing his A game or anything, but it just made for ridiculous dynamic that we're playing for so much money while he just doesn't give a fuck one bit.
What? This guy sounds very, very fun. Like
Yeah, it was
player.
It was hilarious playing with him.
So he finished 15th, you said, or 20th? It looks like.
Yeah, I guess that's around there.
Well, I guess that's the kind of person you ideally want at your table, is someone who's very drunk and acting like a crazy person.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I don't know if he's made a lot of money from playing poker. If I were to guess, I would guess, and I could be wrong with this, that he has money outside of poker, like a trust fund kid or something like that. But he was, like, at one point he was getting a massage, and he's like slurring his words, going, just can barely talk. And someone saying like, it's over $1 million to first. Are you just gonna throw this away? Like some like old guy at the table, like some nit or whatnot, was like, needling him, trying to tell him to take it more seriously. And then he's just like goes to the masseuse behind him, and he's like, hey, have you ever been at the table when I've lost $1 million in a night? And then she's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, you have a bad memory. I always fucking lose when you massage me. I've lost $1 million. And he says like, March of last year or something. So I think he plays in big private games in LA. And, I don't know if he wins or loses in these games, but I think that, he's not, a tournament grinder and isn't really affected by what was going on. Like, I think he cared probably less about the money than just about anyone in the tournament, I think.
Wow. I like this guy. Mulatto says allegedly he took the black girl from the massage girls to his room for some chess when he busted. Allegedly. So, okay.
Gotcha.
Nope. Next to the
Yeah,
note.
I mean,
you know that? How does he know that?
I'd give him some mad props for still being able to play chess when that drunk. I know if I were that drunk, I would. I probably couldn't even remember any opening theory.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty impressive, actually. There's a couple comments. I'm going to go back up here. Just one comment. Someone said going to Ireland is going to be the new playing chess. Earlier today.
That's pretty funny.
I'm going to Ireland next week, guys. It's like it's like the.
No, it's like Pratt was going to Ireland with those little boys.
There's some speculation Pratt was visiting Ireland multiple times, little boys. So when he was back in the chess days or the competitive spelling bee days. Scott, Joey, longtime lurker, archive viewer, first time catching the live stream. Thanks, Scott. Puppy. Andre S says, Puppy asked Mike about his favorite books and movies, but let's do favorite books. Do you have any we like to get some book recommendations from people from time to time. Do you have 2 or 3 book recommendations you would suggest that some of us check out?
So I don't read nearly as much as I should. Definitely my number one recommendation would be Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality. Have you ever heard of that or no?
No, what's that about?
Okay, so basically, J.K. Rowling said that anyone can write Harry Potter books so long as they don't make money from it. And basically, someone rewrote Harry Potter as if instead of Harry growing up in like a shitty family, his like parents were professors and taught him to be like very intelligent, and then he succeeds at like getting through these challenges not through like bravery and luck, but through rational thinking and good decision making. It was like, I mean, it's super nerdy, but I think it's an incredibly good book.
Oh, I wish I was more into Harry Potter.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't read Harry Potter, it's obviously not a good read. I guess it's sort of from anyone who has. I think it was, I read Harry Potter when I was like 12, and I just read this book. Like Pratt recommended it to me about a year ago or so. I thought it was fantastic.
Okay. Any other book recommendations besides that one?
Let me see. I haven't read that many books recently. Let me see what I have on my Facebook profile as far as books I've recommended. I probably should read more than I do. I think with most, for whatever reason, I would say I'm just way slower of a reader than I should be. It takes me. I think a lot of people read 3 to 5 times faster than I do. So as far as say some people could like read a book in 2 hours or watch a movie in 2 hours, if I could either read a book in 10 hours or watch 5 movies in 10 hours, so I just end up watching a lot more TV and movies. So I don't think I've read. I don't know. I don't think I have very many good recommendations. That was one that I read recently that I thought was pretty awesome, but I can't really think of too many. Like a lot of the books I liked a lot when I was a kid or whatnot, when I was reading more. But the last little bit, I just haven't. I don't know. I haven't done too much reading.
Okay. Light Twins. What's up, Light Twins? Light Twins. They got a channel. They talk about vegetarian stuff, and they got shirtless photos in their avatar photo. But they do some cool videos on YouTube. Will says, how much did you have of your own action at Aussie Mains 250K? I think you said that answer earlier, right?
Yeah, I had 12%.
12%.
Just under 12. Yeah.
Stefan, what's up? What's up, Stefan? Who's the German buying all the action super high rollers? Can you talk about the German?
Yeah, I mean it's just a group of people working together. I don't think they're I don't think they're too secretive about it. It's basically Value H, Don't H an Army Please, and Saniker. I think it's a group of them, and then a few others. But like Value H is the main person who kind of like deals with people and buying the pieces.
What do I know Value H? I know from back in the day from Hold'em, but what's his real name?
Hendrik Latz.
Oh, I know him. That's the guy that buys all the action? Or him and Saniker are in the same? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've known him for that's.
Yeah, a lot of people are surprised.
No Limit, man. That's I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So who was the other guy? Saniker, him, and who else?
Don't Each an Army Please.
Oh, okay. That guy that plays high stakes. Okay, that makes sense. Fucking Germans, man. Those guys are boss.
I think there might be a few more, but I think that those are the 3 that I've dealt with the most.
Okay. What was the book called again? It was called Harry Potter and Methods of Rationality. Tobias says this might be the most podcast ever. I agree. Mike says, did anyone see that Imagine King proposed to his girlfriend first by drone, then on one knee recently? Do you know who Imagine King is?
Nope, don't know what Imagine King is.
Oh, he's a very fun and exciting Portland, Omaha player who allegedly is a Korean pop star who sometimes plays live in Macau.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're allegedly, of course. Dan says, hey, dude, for a long-time, first-time commenter, just want to hear what's Mike's opinion on Ole Shemian. Ole, we always talk, every tournament player we have on, this name's always brought up. This guy, Ole Shemian. Did I say his name?
Yeah, I think that's close enough. Yeah, I think Ole is very good. I think he's definitely one of the strongest players in any tournament he plays.
It looks like he likes to wear tank tops too. I'm in on that. So who would you say are some of the better tournament players right now that are playing? Is that something that you talk about, or you don't want to give them props?
Um,
Let them know
I,
you think that about them.
I don't really like talking too much about who's good, who's bad. It's sort of, I don't really think it provides any benefit to me. Like, it just seems kind of like a free roll to myself. And also, most of the people who consider themselves near the top are friends or at least acquaintances of mine. I feel like people get kind of like butthurt when you say that they suck, or you list off every one of their friends but them. So I think I don't know. I don't really want to comment too much on. I think so many poker players, they rank other poker players, and I just think it's like the dumbest thing to do. It seems so pointless and so detrimental. And I could see it's sort of one thing, like with practice, like Brown poker rankings. It's like even there'll be times when you know like he says it's large just based on who's been winning, but with a little bit of skill factored into it. If when you're factoring that in, you're still sort of telling people who sucks, kind of thing. Like you can kind of predict, hey, like this guy won a tournament but still isn't on the list. Oh, maybe Pratt thinks he sucks. I don't really like the idea of like outing people or kissing like too much ass or whatnot. I just think, and I think a lot of lists where it's skill based are even worse, I guess. I think it's not really something I want to be doing at any point.
I think rankings are fun for people. The people that make them kind of look at it as some sort of like a little bit of competition. It's fun. It adds some excitement to what they're playing. Obviously, people that are railing love rankings. It kind of gives them an idea of who stands where. When you're railing, you sometimes don't know who's good, who's bad, who's this, who's that. So when you see these ranking lists of people, you kind of have a better idea of where someone falls and on a skill scale.
Yeah, I like seeing other people's rankings and things like that. I just think it's sort of like, to me at least, especially when you know the people you're playing against, to me it feels as if you're doing something that's detrimental to you in exchange for benefiting everyone else. And I kind of, I guess I'm too selfish for that. I just feel bad whenever people say, list off the good players here, list off the bad players, list off who you think are the broke players, or things like that. I just try to like, I probably. There are even situations where I've said player X sucks to one person, and then 2 weeks later I see that person's kind of being a dick to me, or not really acting the same that they normally do, and I'm like, wow, that person must have told their friend who told their friend who told him. Like, this is so ridiculous. So I think it's something I was sort of started thinking about maybe maybe about 4 months ago. I was just thinking I kind of want to keep my opinions and only sharing something about what I think person like either reads on a player, what I think the quality of their game is. Only really share it with someone who I don't think is going to go telling other people. And they're basically anytime you like whatever tell a secret to someone you trust, you're sort of telling that secret to everyone they trust and everyone they trust and everyone they trust. And things even when you tell someone what you think is, when you tell someone something that you think is in confidence, it's likely they're going to tell people things that they think are in confidence. I think it can just sort of spiral in a way that their things aren't really things aren't like the circle that will hear something is larger than you might realize. One second, I'm going to turn on this light. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's something to think about when you tell someone that you trust something. They tell the people that you're essentially telling the people that they trust as well, and then who those people trust and those people trust. That's kind of a good way to look at something like that. Like, don't only tell someone, maybe only tell somebody something that you're okay with everyone else down that line potentially knowing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I could say one example of this is one of my best friends started dating one of my girlfriend's best friends, sort of. So, like, anytime one of us would hear something, all four of us would, kind of thing. It'd be like if I tell my girlfriend something, she's going to tell one of her best friends, she's going to tell her boyfriend. So it'd be situations like we would both know, exactly what's going on in each other's relationships and stuff in a way that's like slightly weird, because like if we both think, at all stages everyone's like, oh, they're not going to tell, and you just see these situations a lot, and I think it's worse in the where to tell who kind of thing, and I just want it to myself.
Interesting. You kind of lagged a bit at the end there, but I heard what you said. For the most part. What did Judas say? Are you there? Are you lagging? I can't tell. I think Mike froze again. I think he's frozen again, yeah. All right, Judas said something. He said Value H was living in the same house with Crazy Sheep in 2011. That must be where I met Value H then, because I went to that house. Are you back, Mike? I see him coming. I see you coming in and out.
Yeah, back.
Okay. I think I see you. Are you there? Huh? Oh, I guess Mike's kind of lagging right now, guys.
Sorry about
that. Okay, I think we have him here. All right, cool. Everyone wants a Jungle Man impression, so I know you have one. Let's hear a Jungle Man impression. We haven't done Jungle Man impressions since we had Jungle Man on, because no one else see him that much. Are they can you hear me now, Mike?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, Jungle Man impression. Do you have a Jungle Man impression?
I mean, I'm not good at impressions. I don't really think I can do a Jungle Man impression. Sorry.
That's okay. Takes a strong person strong impressionist to do a Jungle Man impression, because sometimes they end up being kind of bad, and then yeah. What did someone say? Epic says, Epic Pyramid. Mike looks like he hits the gym hard. Pause. You been working out a lot lately, or what?
I'd say a moderate amount. Today is actually one of the first times I guess I've skipped a workout in a while. Typically, I prioritize climbing above going to the gym. So generally, I'll climb every week, and then hopefully go to the gym 3 times a week as well, but probably go an average of about 2 times a week. So today, like generally, if I'm not doing anything, I don't like not doing something athletic that day, unless say I've gone the last 6 days. So today I was just feeling a little sick, and then decided I wasn't going to go to the gym. But on average, I go relatively often. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I don't think I really look that much like a gym rat or anything like that. I'm definitely not, not super big or anything, but definitely try to stay in shape.
Light Twin said, ask Mike about his push-up prop bet with Perkins. I think he did 336 push-ups an hour. God damn, seems like a lot. Or is that a lot? That seems like a lot.
I think basically it's like, I don't really think it's too much. Basically, what happened is I booked a bet on whether I could do, I don't know what the number was. Might have been 300 air squats in an hour against Perkins, and I just thought this was the most laughable bet ever. I thought I could like 2,000 in an hour, and this was while I was playing in the super high roller. So I ended up doing that bet at a pretty leisurely pace and finished in 35 minutes something, then won 10K from him. And then he was asking how many push-ups I could do in an hour, and so I got shoulder surgery about 7 months prior, and it was like my shoulder was pretty bad. I used to dislocate it all the time, and then after this shoulder surgery, I was in a sling for a bit. I couldn't really, they said don't hold more than like a coffee cup for like a few months. Like it was, really just couldn't do much. So I just, I'd been pretty weak for a while. I had started going to the gym a few months earlier, and so when he told me about doing push-ups, I just said, hey, like I'm not good at doing push-ups. Like that range of motion isn't really that great for my shoulder. It's been healing reasonably well, but like I bench 2/3 of what my bench from a bench, and so basically I just said I said I could probably do like 300 an hour. He asked about 400 an hour. I said no. He said 350 an hour, and I said no. And then he basically said, if I win the bet, I donate the money to charity. If he wins, he'll give me the money and donate the equivalent amount to charity. So it's sort of,
win-win.
I mean, it felt like kind of a win-win type situation. So we booked the bet on whether I could do 350 push-ups in an hour while playing the super high roller. And so I kind of, I started out ahead of pace, and it was pretty easy. And then I started to, card rack really hard. Like I was, I think I was probably involved in half of hands or something like that, and some of them took a while. You obviously can't do push-ups while in the hand. So about maybe 25 minutes into the hour, I asked the dealer if he can deal me in while I'm not in, like if I'm on the ground, and he said, yeah, that's fine. Like if I had have had that, I would have gotten a lot more sort of sets of 5, sets of 8 early on. As it was, I was only really doing them when I had enough time to do a set of 20. So I'd fallen behind pace at this point, and then continued to card rack. Eventually, I realized I wasn't going to get it, and then he told me, hey, he's going to donate an extra 10K to charity if I just make it to 300. And so, I kept going. I ended up doing, I think it was a little less than the guy said. I think it was maybe 326 or 331 or something like that. But yeah, so I ended up losing the bet. But I didn't really want to, once I realized I was zero equity, which was, fairly early on, 35, 40 minutes into it, I still wanted to put forth a good effort. But I think if you were to take someone, not playing poker, in good shape, and whose shoulder doesn't feel like it's going to, has good shoulders basically, and also I had done shoulders at the gym that morning. I think it would be a pretty comfortable bet to win. I then booked a bet with another poker player on how many pull-ups I could do in an hour. I said in an interview that I thought I could do 400 pull-ups in an hour.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and they just kind of laughed at me for that. And they said they don't think I could do 150 in an hour. So I booked a bet with them on whether basically the terms of the bet were I lose if I can't do 150 in an hour, I win if I can do 400 in an hour, and then otherwise it's a chop. And so we booked the bet for pretty high stakes since both of us think it's usually going to be a chop. And then I went to the gym the next day, and I think I did 150 in 18 minutes or something like that. I was pretty tired at that point. I just sort of realized hey, if I grind this, if I shed it was a few weeks before the bet happened. I realized if I shed 10 pounds, really get good at the form, the timing, and everything, I think I actually could get 400. And then I took down my workout. I stopped updating my workout log on 2+2 because I didn't really want killing action or anything. Thought maybe I could get more action on the bet, but eventually he canceled the bet, and it was kind of unfortunate because at that point I thought I was pretty likely to win it. Especially because I think a lot of why he thought I was zero equity to do it is sort of not realizing how much worse. It's just looking there are very few people who couldn't do 350 push-ups but could do 400 pull-ups. So I think I lost out on some money there.
I was thinking about push-ups. I do push-ups whenever I watch basketball on TV. I always do a workout in my living room, and I always do sets of 50 push-ups. So thinking about, I was wondering how many. I only do up to 200 normally. So I'm trying to think how many I think I could do in an hour. But pull-ups, there's no fucking way I could do 400. Those are way harder for me personally than a push-up is.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I still think if I had an hour, this wasn't playing a poker tournament. I think if I had an hour to do push-ups, I could probably do 500 or something like that. If I just do.
Shoulder, that's tough. The shoulder fucked up. I wouldn't even do push-ups.
Yeah, no, it's probably dumb. I still think you could just do 8 a minute every minute kind of thing. I think I could probably do that, but it was tough to time them when also playing the tournament. And you sometimes get in a hand that takes 4 or 5 minutes, and then you've just fallen behind so much.
So I think on the plan, yeah.
I would guess, yeah. I mean, I would guess if you can do 4 sets of, if you can do 3 sets of 50 push-ups and then still do 50 more push-ups, you could probably crank out a bunch. I would guess if you were to get the numbers right, you could probably do 750, 800, something like that. It's especially if you're not taking, if you're taking half-hour breaks between those sets, that's one thing. But if it's do one, take 5-6 minute break, you really. Going anywhere near failure is so bad for your numbers on these things. That's when I was doing the pull-ups, I was just doing I think I was just doing sets of 4 every 30 seconds, and doing 4 every 30 seconds would be so much easier than doing 12 every 90 seconds or something like that. By set 5 you might start getting tired, and then you really fuck yourself. You really just need to do even if you just do 1 every if you were doing the push-up bet, just do 1 every 10 seconds or something like that. Do 1, break 8.5 seconds. Just keep on doing that. that's probably much easier than doing sets anywhere near exhaustion.
Push up and pull up GTO out there for anyone who's debating getting into a prop bet with a friend. That is a little bit of tips for you as far as maybe winning your bets if you can ever hustle a friend out of some money.
Exactly.
We're reaching out. Well, we got a lot more questions potentially from people asking good questions, but we're going to wrap it up because, yeah, we're getting pretty long, and I know some people are going to see the length and they're going to be like, they're going to be like very scared. So we'll wrap it up here. And yeah, was I want to talk about anything else for sure this time? We'll have to have you back on again, Mike.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Are you gonna rail the heads up challenge? You're gonna rail some of it?
Yeah, I'll definitely do some railing.
All right. Well, I might try to get you on a live stream. Me and you could talk about some of the action and talk some various random things, and it'll be fun. So.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine strategy-wise, you could probably find better people to do it, but it'd still be fun to do some commentary with my Eskimo brother.
Oh yeah. This is we're not sure. This isn't a strategic live stream. We're just talking about the action. Maybe talk a bit about the hands, but we'll probably talk some more Eskimo GTO more than actual no limit strategy. But I feel like me and you play much more no limit than I do. But I don't know how much heads up we actually play. So it might be like two fun heads up players talking about action, and we wouldn't quite be quite sure what we should be doing in spots. So it could be fun.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely be down for that. I'll be the next 5 days. I think I'll be at WPT Niagara. It's just like an hour drive from my house. But after that, I'll be playing online almost every day.
Cool, man. All right, I'll hit you up, guys, in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. We've had a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments. I'll be back probably tomorrow with a video, either with probably the Prop Bet Preview podcast. And if you want to follow Mike on Twitter, it's at Mike McDonald's89. Correct?
Yep.
If you want to write Mike a letter, his 2+2 name is Timex. Feel free to write him a letter. And yeah, if you have anything else you want to add in later on, feel free to hit us up wherever. So, all right, Mike, thanks for tuning in, my friend.
All right, good talking to you, man.
Actually, Mike, thanks for coming on. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, no worries. It was fun.
All right, guys. See everybody soon. Adios, papis. Hola, cola, moza.